Hello, everybody. Good evening, all. Thank you for joining me today on the King's Monologue. Shout out to all of you on this live stream that I've scheduled today to cover the interview that one Piers Morgan, everyone's favorite British journalist. How many years has it been since you heard a not joke? Everyone's favorite British journalist who's interviewed Zahi Hawass, everyone's favorite Egyptologist. And then just for additional shits and giggles, they brought on some of Zahi Hawass's best friends from the YouTube journalist / conspiracy archaeology field to have a nice little raging debate at the end of it. Now, I just thought this would be interesting to have a little watch along with you guys. It's about an hour long, so I'm very doubtful that we'll get through it all, but I thought we'd just watch it together and just do a live reaction. Basically, I haven't really prepped anything. I mean, shout out to the 41 of you who are in now. I can see there's a fair amount of anticipation. But I'll be honest with you, and those of you who have been on my channel when I did a live reaction to the first time Zahi Hawass had a debate with these guys. When it comes to, I'm going to say, conspiracy archaeology, it's not I don't really have a horse to back, to be honest with you. I'm very much an independent thinker when it comes to the events of ancient African history. Ancient world history, really, but I'm very much an independent thinker, so some things sound very sensible to me, and then I'm like, well, that's what I think happened, and then other things sound like Eurocentric nonsense, and I'll just write it off, and I'll say I'm just not going to accept that. So if we're going to talk about, like, for instance, just the overall dating of the ancient Egyptian civilization, I think it's nonsense. I use the dates and I kind of submit to them somewhat, because sometimes you just got to pick your battles, but I definitely default towards the longer estimates, which are more in line with the ancient model for the dating of the ancient Egyptian civilization. So that's one of the areas where I'd be happy to kind of, like, in time, go to war with the establishment. But then there's other areas where I'm not so invested in, you know. So I'm definitely not sitting more towards one side than the other. I definitely will veer away from arguments that are anything that kind of, like, leans towards ancient aliens is going to put me off, because I don't want anything. Well, not even just the case of I don't see any reason to detract from human capability, ancient human capability, particularly African capability, which is one of the most undermined things that we've witnessed throughout the last, couple hundred years, since the rise of scientific racism and the rise of the Aryan model in terms of our interpretation of ancient history. So there are some things that I definitely am more traditional with in terms of my perspectives, but then there's some things where I'm going to challenge it. I mean, if you watch my latest documentary, it's challenging an entire corpus of items, and my documentary before that was challenging another entire corpus of items. So I'm in a place now where I think a large proportion of the Fayum portraits are fakes, and I've defended that using anthropology, using the archaeological record, using basically all of the data that suggests that Occam's razor would say that a majority of these are fakes. And then I've also extended that now to some of the fourth dynasty items found by the various German expeditions, but a few characters who were basically well invested in Hamitic hypothesis and had motive to fake a bunch of items, and wouldn't you know it, they all look German. All the items they found, and all of the items they found, we've never found items since that look like them, and they all use methods of construction, i.e. lots and lots of plaster, really unskilled but perfectly preserved plaster for 4,000 years, which is also incredibly unique when it comes to anything to do with statuary. And there's a whole bunch of reasons. I'm not going to list them all. What I will advise you to do is, if you want to know more about that, please tune into the latest documentary series that I've just launched called The German Conspiracy. Parts 1, 2, and 3 are live, and the fourth part will be, well, it's ready. I just need to upload it. So the fourth part, I think I'll schedule it to premiere, and that's the final part, by the way. I think I'll schedule it to premiere on Friday this week. If you can't wait that long and you want to support the channel as well, feel free to get a YouTube membership or a Patreon membership. Subscribe, and there'll be links in the Patreon and in the YouTube membership to view the entire documentary, which was made available to my patrons and my YouTube members about a week and a half ago. But either which way you'll get it, you'll just get it in parts if you're just on the channel as a normal subscriber. That's all. But yeah, feel free to have a look at those documentaries. There's more to come, and this is all this work that I've been doing is just literally just you know, it's the tip of the iceberg. We're just opening the door, because it's almost like a house of cards that if you, or I would even say a better analogy, it's like a woolen, you know, a knitted jumper, you know, where you just pull at the string and then it just starts, everything starts to unravel. And then you start to realize who the characters are. You start to realize the financing teams. You start to realize the motives behind it. And you realize so much of what people classify as being Egyptology is just a farce. So much of what we understand about these ancient civilizations is just made up Eurocentric storytelling that needs to be unraveled. And I'm one for the unraveling, I'll be honest with you. So, you know, there you go. Quick plug for my work. Back to, thank you very much, Hidden Scholar. You said the documentary was excellent. I appreciate that. Back to the subject at hand, and that's the interview on Piers Morgan Uncensored, which we're going to get into straight away, because like I said, it's an hour long and I just want to react to it. Haven't got a whole bunch, I haven't got anything prepared. I'm just going to kind of see where it goes, and we'll have a good discussion together and have a bit of fun with this and see where it goes. I do know I have given it a little bit of a pre-watch, and Zahi Hawass just seems like he's in his usual form. So here's my book. We excavated every bit of sand. You know, the usual sound bites that Zahi Hawass makes when he's talking and acting like he's God's gift to archaeology, and you know, ancient Egypt wouldn't have even been a thriving civilization if he wasn't here, if he wasn't present to excavate every piece of sand in Giza. You know, that's kind of how he talks, you know, how he talks. So, you know, be prepared to be annoyed, but also maybe there's something fresh, maybe there's something not propagandistic in this, and we can just enjoy it for what it is. Let's wait and see. But shout out everybody in the chat. How many have we got? We're approaching 100, which is fantastic. Feel free to get us up to 100 likes. That would be awesome whilst we do that. And I think on that note, we can get cracking. Hit a 1 in the chat when I click play if it's playing through all right, and hit a 2 if there's any audio problems. Let's go.
Why are the pyramids so unbelievably mathematically precise that we probably couldn't even recreate it today without extremely modern machinery?
The ascribed techniques for how the pyramids were led.
He said without extremely modern machinery. Well, they tried that, and I'm not even sure if we could, to be totally honest with you. There's more complexities in terms of the construction of the pyramids than just the, you know, sliding stuff into spaces. Also the very surface of the Sahara and the Giza plateau. So even if you had the modern machinery, would it have the footing to lift blocks of that size to the heights they need to be lifted to, and to the precision they need to be placed? And that's the question. Could you make a rudimentary style pyramid using modern machinery? Yes. Would it be precision? You know, cutting precision blocks of that size is, even to this very day with our modern tools, not an easy thing to do. You'll be hard pressed to find, you know, saws or blades of that size. It's not, I'm not saying it's impossible. It's definitely possible. You know, obviously it'll be I say it'll be easier, but we don't want to know what technology they used. But technically it'd be feasible, obviously. But once again, I question if they could do it to the precision that it was done by the ancient Egyptians. Anyway, let's carry on.
Allegedly constructed have been tested and debunked. I do not believe they were constructed with copper chisels and stone hammers.
There are extraordinary things happening in the world before the Great Cataclysm. Certainly the ancient Egyptians believed in not just one great cataclysm, but several.
I can tell you for hours and answer all your questions. But there's one thing I want to assure all of you. We never hide anything.
Zahi looks like he's he looks like he's approaching his it's time to retire. Zahi, it does look like he looks tired, man. Just chill out, man. You've done your innings, you know, you've tortured us for long enough. Pass the baton on and keep it pushing, man. Give it to that guy, the echo technology guy. I think he really wants the job, so hand it over to Echo Technology. I'm sure he wants the job, Zahi.
Everything we discover, we publish it in a scientific article or in a book.
I want to circle back.
Why would he lie? What would be the motivation for covering everything up?
And I love that question because what I love is I wouldn't say it's even naive, it's the privilege of not believing. It's the privilege of not having to worry that someone who's in a professional position doesn't have an agenda. Yeah, that's a privilege that only white people, only Europeans, British people, they can turn around and go, why would an archaeologist do that? Why would an Egyptologist do anything like that? They're professionals. They've got enough, and they don't realize what we have been experiencing for the past 200 years about the active deconstruction of our history. You know, if you was to tell the average European about, you know, for instance, Lake Nasser and the flooding of Aswan, they would say, oh, well, you know, it's necessary. And then you go to them, you go, can you give us an equivalent of where, you know, such a rich archaeological site was deliberately flooded simply to provide hydroelectricity, when there's certainly other forms of electricity they could have invested in? Can you name one other occasion when quite possibly the richest square, you know, a few hundred square miles archaeologically in history were deliberately flooded? Can you give us I can't give you an example, but I'm sure there was a good reason for it. There's no way they'd just do it if it wasn't absolutely necessary. It's like you guys don't live in the same world we live in. Yeah, and that's why you can trust your archaeologists, you can trust your professionals, you can trust your academicians, because they're never going to do anything to harm your history. In fact, everything they do is to fabricate a history that you've never had and make you believe it had something to do with you. That's the difference between our world and theirs.
Dr. Zahi Hawass is a world-renowned Egyptian archaeologist and a global authority on the great...
It's quite interesting, actually, because someone just put in the chat, I actually did see Jimmy Corsetti's video on the Osiris shaft, and he's released a new video, and I think in the original kind of transcript, Zahi Hawass says, we found, you know, we found a body. Yeah, we found a skeleton inside the tomb of Osiris. And then on this, he says, oh, it was empty. There was nothing in there. And this isn't the first time Zahi Hawass has been entirely contradictory. He's done it before. In his 2008 press release about the when they did the kind of like the CT scans of Akhenaten and Tutankhamun, he said quite clearly they're both dolichocephalic. And then when his book came out, Scanning the Pharaohs, which I got on my desk somewhere, by the time the publishing of that book, they had changed from dolichocephalic to brachycephalic. So they'd gone literally full opposites. So he does the contradiction thing quite often. Now, on that note, going back to the Osiris and the skeleton found inside, everyone's questions here is, why has he done it? Oh, I think the skeleton was an alien. I think the skeleton was this. I think, as people who know what Egyptian antiquities are like, what straight away is the number one reason you guys think they would hide the true body of Osiris, if in fact it did happen? I just want to know from you guys, what do you think the number one Arab-centric / Eurocentric motive would be for hiding if they found the body of one of the oldest patriarchs of ancient Egypt? What would be the motive for them of pretending they never found it? Let me know in the chat. I want to see if you thought, if your mind went straight to the same place my mind went to. What do you think would be the number one reason for hiding the the body of Egypt's oldest patriarch? And by the way, Osiris is an Ethiopian according to Egyptian law. So yeah, see, I'm with Hidden Scholar here. I just think that it was probably so undeniably African. They were like, hell to the no, hell to the no. No one's seeing this. Ain't no one seeing this super Africoid ancestor. There's no need for this to be. We don't even want its DNA. That's sitting in a private collection somewhere in the stomach of some greedy barbaric cannibalistic European, God knows. Yeah, that's where my mind went to. Now it could be a lot deeper than that. Hey, maybe it did have an alien head, or maybe it had the, you know, the codes to to unlock nukes in the in the Earth's core. I don't know, but once again, just being who we are and knowing what we know about these people, we just kind of like slide straight to Occam's razor. It's like, yeah, they just be hiding a black man out. That's Egyptology 101, man.
Great Pyramids, as many admirers consider him a cultural icon, a ferocious defender of ancient antiquities, even a real-life Indiana Jones. His critics, however, some of whom we'll hear from later, believe he's a gatekeeper wielding an academic iron fist to silence the myriad alternative theories.
He actually does think he's Indiana Jones. That's the sad thing, but you know, all power to him.
About the pyramids' many mysteries. There was a huge response to his last appearance on Uncensored. When I discovered he was here in London, inaugurating the exhibit of Ramses at Battersea Power Station, well, I had to invite him into my studio, and I'm delighted to say Dr. Zahi is here. Great to meet you.
Thank you. The same. I'm happy to see you.
It's great to meet you in person. You are, whatever people think of you, and like everyone at the top of their game, you attract praise and critics and jealousy and all sorts of things. You are, by common consent, probably the greatest expert in the pyramids of Egypt in the world.
He loves that. That is like the ultimate compliment. He wants to be, you are the ultimate authority when it comes to the pyramids. He's been pushing his, sorry, I promised I wasn't going to take the mic today. This was a national project, a national project. This was the great national. He loves this because this is the validation that he truly seeks. But yeah, let's give it to him.
Would you say that's the reality?
Oh, shout out Wildflower, by the way. He's in London because he's doing the Ramesses exhibition at the moment, which I haven't been to. It's in Battersea. And then someone messaged me. It might have been you, Liz, I can't remember. But someone messaged me. I was like, you need to go. So now I need to go. I might even go tomorrow, actually, on that note. But I do need to go because someone said it's good. So I wasn't really looking. I mean, I saw some of the artifacts. I'm like, I'm not interested in any of these. But now, yeah, it was Liz. She's like, you gotta go. So okay, I'm gonna go. We'll see.
I think if you talk about Giza and the Great Pyramid, there is two people that you can talk to: Mark Leonard, who's an American, and myself.
Yeah, he just gave himself the straight props. You want the truth about pyramids? Mark Leonard and this guy.
Me and Mark worked for the last 50 years. We excavated every piece of sand at Giza, and we published a great book by Timson Hudson.
1,000 pages.
1,000 pages.
Yeah. Explaining
everything about Khufu Pyramid and all the discoveries that we made at Giza Plateau and inside the Great Pyramid of Khufu.
Right. So
and obviously, we always have a big issue with Zahi Hawass's incessant need to put everything that he's discovered in a book and not make any of it available in kind of like academic papers, allow it to go through. It goes straight in a book, and it's not like his books are cheap. They're so damn expensive, man. So it's not like people don't want to read us. I want to read. What's your opinion about these things? What's your research? There's like, I can't deny the Scanning the Pharaohs book that I've got is like the proprietary information in there just isn't available anywhere else. But that book is my most expensive book, man. It's so damn expensive. And Zahi Hawass is just there, just milking. Like, this guy has just commodified the ancient Egyptian civilization for his own pockets, or for his own benefit. This is one of the biggest problems we have with this guy. You know, if his book is only £48, that would be quite cheap. Wildflower. The Scanning the Pharaohs book I bought cost me £100. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. Anyway, let me carry on.
For viewers who come to this as sort of pyramid virgins, who don't know much about the pyramids or the history or whatever, there are approximately 118 to 138 identified pyramids in Egypt, with counts varying based on how archaeologists classify severely eroded or unfinished structures. So on that, how many do you think there are?
So that number he's just given will include obviously a lot of the deconstructed pyramids, because what happened in the later age of pyramid construction is they started building them using mud brick. So basically they started building them purely for, I wouldn't say, yeah, purely for aesthetics more than anything. So in the Old Kingdom, the first set of pyramids, so we know the first pyramid was built by, or the first successful pyramid was built by Djoser, the step pyramid, and the architect was Imhotep. Then we had afterwards the layer pyramid built by Huni, Pharaoh Huni, and Sebek, someone else just before Huni. But anyway, they built the Huni built the layer pyramid, and then we got to the next dynasty, and that's when we started moving into the pyramid, the kind of like the Great Pyramid age. So Sneferu built 3 pyramids, and he's the one who built the bent pyramid. So that was the one that was on its way to being a true pyramid, and then they changed direction halfway through because it was too acute. It was going to maybe go too tall, and I don't think the stone under Giza would have been strong enough to hold it, something like that, or it would have collapsed under its own weight, so they decided to bend it. And then his third pyramid was classified as the first true pyramid, which was, you know, the 4 flat sides. So he built the first true pyramid, Sneferu, and then after that we had the kind of like the Great Pyramids built. So the first one built by Khufu, and the next one was built by Khafre, and the final one was built by Menkaure. So we have this kind of like, now someone asked me, do I think the narrative is true? I don't know. This is kind of me. I'm quoting Chandler here more than anyone, Wayne Chandler. I like his kind of like summary in terms of the order of the way these pyramids were built. It's obviously they're laid with a bit of skepticism. Being someone of, you know, African descent, we have to always take what the Eurocentrists has given us with a pinch of salt. So I'm not sure. I've heard other theories, and I might as well throw it out there. The other theory is that the Great Pyramids are ancient, like tens of thousands of years old. Yeah, ancient, been there for ages. And all of the other pyramids are various attempts to try and imitate the Great Pyramids, and some got closer than the others. And actually the ones they say were built the latest were actually the kind of like the first attempts, as people tried to rebuild and try to replicate what they saw in terms of the 3 Great Pyramids and the Giza Plateau. The one thing I do know is they don't know, and they might pose like they know. They might do digging, they might find graveyards of pyramid workers and this, that, and the other, but none of that proves that those 3 Great Pyramids, it doesn't prove how they were built, who built them. There's just no evidence supporting any of that. And as much as they might try and sell it to you, they don't have that evidence. They don't have any hieroglyphs in any of the Great Pyramids. They don't have anything in terms of anything, just kind of like, you know, later graffiti. They don't have anything that suggests any of these people were present in the building of these things. So I take everything they say with a pinch of salt. I definitely don't sign up to the mainstream narrative in terms of the chronology of ancient Egyptian civilization. But at the same time, if we're going to have a conversation, it's good to know what exists and what's said about when it exists. And I guess that's what I'm communicating here. Well, that's the That's the kind of run of events. So leading to the Great Pyramids. So anyway, after the building of the Great Pyramids continued to be built right up until I think even the New Kingdom. But what happened is they would use faster and faster techniques, once again giving you the mainstream narrative, and they started building the internal core structure using mud bricks. So you'll see a couple of, if you go to the Giza Plateau, you'll see a couple of these pyramids where the structure, where they just crumbled, so they just look like mounds now. And that's because the internal core structure wasn't built using the limestones, the hard limestone that was used on the 3 Great Pyramids. The ones that have collapsed don't use that hard limestone core structure, so they've collapsed in on themselves. So yeah, it's quite interesting. When I went to Giza, seeing the different pyramids, they're very impressive. One of the things I will say as well is that, you know, Khufu's one's called the Great Pyramid and Khafre's one's smaller. Standing next to them, Khafre's one, for some reason, just looks bigger. It's more imposing. So I was standing there and I was like, this is the Great Pyramid. No, that's the Great Pyramid. I'm like, why? Because Khafre's one's on slightly raised ground. So even when you're in the Giza Plateau, you feel like Khafre's one is the bigger pyramid, but it's slightly smaller. But by the way, Khafre's one is smaller by a matter of a few meters. So it's not like it's like notably smaller. You wouldn't know it was smaller unless someone told you it was smaller. So really, they tell you, oh, you know, the Great Pyramid, and this, really, there's 2 Great Pyramids. They're, for all intents and purposes, equal in size. They're virtually equal in size. You know, they're almost the same size. Like the naked eye wouldn't be able to tell which one was bigger out of the 2 ones. So you might as well say there's 2 Great Pyramids, and the third one, which is nearly great, but it is, you know, you will see that it's visibly smaller than the other 2. But yeah, so that's a little bit of a rundown there of the pyramid age, which is always quite an interesting subject to look into. Let's carry on.
Pyramids?
Yes.
We have exactly 120 pyramids.
120.
Of kings and queens from Dynasty 3 up to the New Kingdom Dynasty 18.
And some of them are...
I'll check out Paul Cook's channel, but I will say now, he doesn't explain how they're built. I can tell you that already because we have no idea. I would say he might theorize how they're built, and hundreds of people have theorized how the pyramids are built, and some guesses sound better than the other, but I haven't heard anyone that successfully explained the way the pyramids are built, because there's too many question marks for anyone to claim, unless you find the transport technology, unless you find the technology used to, for instance, transport, you know, the 100-ton blocks from Aswan to, from Aswan to Cairo, and unless you find the cutting technology that, you know, allowed them to cut them so precisely, unless you find the positioning technology that allowed them to position these blocks without, like, literally you couldn't slide a credit card between 2 gigantic blocks, unless you can also explain the precision, because a lot of people try to explain the construction, but then they just explain kind of like I wouldn't say shoddy, but very kind of rudimentary construction techniques. I'm like, well, that doesn't explain the precision, because that's another thing you have to explain when it comes to the building of the pyramids, is how did they achieve the precision? Because it wasn't just, they were just, even explaining them laying the blocks on top of one another is hard enough, but then you have to explain the precision and explain the internal passageways and all of these things. Like, this is where explaining the pyramids becomes, it really does. If you don't understand construction, talk to someone in construction about the pyramids, and you'll understand why people believe that they were alien technology, because it's like, there's no reason any pre-computational civilization should have been able to build the pyramids. Okay, there's no reason why any pre-computational civilization should have been able to build the pyramids.
Are vast, and some of them presumably are eroded.
You know, why Giza pyramids are the best, because Giza Plateau is a part of the Mokattam Formation. It consists of 3 levels, the stones. Level 1 and 2 are very bad stones, but level 3 is the best quality of stones that never seen in any site in Egypt. This is why the 3 pyramids at Giza are unique among all the other pyramids.
So there are 3 Giza Plateau pyramids. They're the most famous.
Yes.
And the majority of the others are scattered across ancient sites across the Nile.
Because people doesn't see, like the pyramids of Khufu's father are really the same size of the pyramid of Khufu. Right. But people doesn't go to that shore because that shore is away. But I want to tell you one important thing. If you come to Egypt, and I'm waiting,
I'm going to do
take you, and you will stood in front of the Great
Do you know who contacted me, by the way, after our last interview?
I want to just bring back what he just said there about the pyramids in Dashur. He said they're the same size. I wasn't aware of that.
Khufu's father
Is famous.
Yes.
And the majority of the others are scattered across ancient sites across the Nile.
Because people doesn't see like the pyramids of Khufu's father are really the same size of the pyramid of Khufu. But people doesn't go to Dashur because Dashur is away. But
Is anyone aware of that? I wasn't aware of that. I need to pull up some Chandler again. See who Khufu's father is. See if I can get a little. That sounds interesting. I want to see if I can just pull up an image of that. So Khufu's father would be. Oh, he's talking about Snefru there, isn't he? Yeah. So he's talking about one of the pyramids of Snefru being the same size. I wasn't aware that Snefru. I know the Bent pyramid is large, but I didn't know it was the same size. Let's just pull up an image of Snefru's first true pyramid. It's pyramid of Sneferu. Sorry, I just got to do this really quickly because I wasn't aware that it was that big. I want to see all them images. 1 second. So it's this red one he must be talking about, because I'm not sure if I know it looks formidable, doesn't it? And that has still got some of its beautiful kind of like limestone casing. Let's look at the red pyramid because I want to see what is the size of the red pyramid. So 200 base dimensions, 220 meters on each side. Yeah, that is nearly that is that is nearly the same size, because the Great Pyramids are like 230 meters each side. I had no idea. So built by that's really interesting. Should have known that. Third largest pyramid after the Great Pyramid. I mean, and we're talking about smaller by a matter of a few meters here. That's amazing. That's impressive. So there you go. Learn something new every day. I had no idea it was that big. I thought there was quite a large gap. So the 3 pyramids on the Giza Plateau, only 2 of them are the largest. The third one, so it goes Great Pyramid, Khafre's Pyramid, and then the Red Pyramid in terms of size. And then I'm guessing the 4th would be either the Bent Pyramid or the 3rd pyramid on the Giza Plateau. So there you go. I learned something new there. Thank you very much, Zahi.
I want to tell you one important thing.
I agree. I guess Zahi's good for something. She must be a bait said.
If you come to Egypt, and I'm waiting,
I'm going to
take you, and you will stood in front of the Great.
Do you know who contacted me, by the way, after our last interview? I got an email from an old friend of mine, Robbie Williams, the singer.
Oh, yes,
familiar with Robbie?
Of course.
He was watching, and he said, I want to come with you to Egypt. So we may have quite a stuff.
You know what's so funny about this? Now, this will go over most people's heads, but what's really funny about this is how much Piers' popularity has changed. You have to understand, Piers Morgan has really reformed his reputation. This guy, you have to understand, was a pariah. He was absolutely despised in the UK. Like the thought of Robbie Williams contacting Piers Morgan directly, like 15 years ago, would be like, you like anyone like contact Piers Morgan, that slimy little totally immoral, disgusting, self-seeking, snidey little conniving dog. And now look at him, he's just chilling, he's got his own show, top button undone, and everyone's trying, like Zahi's trying to get him to Egypt, like, hey, we'll show you around. Like, damn, he's had a good little PR, a good little a right bell end. Smelly nose, top bell end. But yeah, he's doing all right now, isn't he? He's doing all right now. He still hasn't invited me on the show. He keeps having these people on the show. He still hasn't invited me on the show. I would like an opportunity to Anyway, let's carry on.
Star study group.
Perfect. It will be great. Just tell me, we'll give you the red carpet. But I want to tell you, if you stood in front of the Great Pyramid,
Yes, which I really want to do. I want to do this.
and you look at it, you will never believe that it was built by human beings.
No, well, that's what we're going to come to this because we've discussed it last time. But
Okay.
it is fascinating.
Always in sales mode, but I would agree. It's an impressive sight. It's an impressive sight. It is, yes, it's very much awe-inspiring, but it's not one that I would say the current, because even when I went to Egypt, I was really fortunate. It was empty, and I think it was something to do with time, and I think a conflict had just broken out. So I think, yeah, it was like a month after the October 7 attacks, and so no one was in the region. And so when I went there, it was like empty. And when I say empty, obviously there were people there, but it was like I was like, this place is not busy at all. So I had kind of like, when I did my tour of Saqqara, I had like a top Egyptologist take me round. He was a really nice guy. He was the guy who I had the debate with in the tomb when he was trying to say, "Oh, these ones are Nubians. Nubian, look at their face." And I'm like, "Why are they Nubians?" They're like, "Because their face is different, and he's not like the cheese." I'm like, "Their face is the same. What are you talking about?" Like, but yeah, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go through my shorts. You'll find me having a little debate in a tomb. But that Egyptologist who took me round was really good, and he was the one that showed me the Serapeum. He took me into the Serapeum, and I got a few really nice guided tours. So I did get very, very lucky. But even in that circumstance, Kemet is Egypt's very restricted. The distance that I spoke about this on a live with iShow Speed. The distance that they made him stand away from the Sphinx was outrageous. That's where I stood. So he stood in the same place that I stood. And you have to understand that place where you stand to see the Sphinx is minimum 100 meters away. It's like, it was like, you're taking the piss. Can't we get closer? Like what? So they're very proprietary. So really you enjoy it as much as possible. But when everything's cordoned off and it's just the control and the commodifying. Everything needs a ticket as well, by the way. So when you're on the Giza Plateau, you have one ticket. Okay, that gets you in. But then you need a ticket to get you into this tomb, and ticket to get you to that, and ticket to get you to that. Oh, have you got a ticket to go into the pyramid? And have you got a ticket? And it's just like ticket. Everything's a ticket. And it's tiring. It's tiring, I'll be honest with you.
So the Giza pyramids were constructed during the 4th dynasty of Egypt's Old Kingdom over a span of about 85 years. So roughly between 2600 BC and 2500 BC.
Yes.
And there are pyramids not exclusively in Egypt, but also Sudan, Mexico, and a couple of.
And I think it's important. He mentions pyramids in different parts of the world, but it's important to separate the pyramids, obviously, in the Americas from the pyramids in, the Nile Valley. The Sudanese pyramids are very much related to the pyramids in Giza. It's the same heritage, it's the same background. Now, I will say one thing that's different, obviously, is that the Sudanese pyramids or the Kushite pyramids were definitely used as tombs. There was a bigger piece that I was supposed to do ages ago, and I couldn't find the video. I need to go on a hunt for it again. It will really disturb and sadden you all, but it's about how many of these Nubian pyramids, or these, I should say, Kushite pyramids, were deliberately blown up by Italians. So Italians blew them up. They used to go in there, loot the stuff, loot all the gold and stuff, and then just blow them up with dynamite. See, people don't understand the war against Black history. They really don't understand it. And obviously they try and blame some rogue trader, but it's kind of like, well, no one should be able to blow up pyramids, like a rogue trader or not. The guy was never in prison, this, that, and the other. He was allowed to do it. So it doesn't matter if it's one or this, that, and the other. It's like, oh, well, we didn't colonize South Africa. It was the Dutch East India Company. No, it was you, okay? So the Italians blew up loads and loads of the pyramid. And obviously this is before they even flooded Meroe, but this is the kind of things they do. So people really don't understand, like, when you have that naivety, that goofy innocent white privilege that Piers has got. Oh, why would anyone doubt them? You know, what's the they don't have our backdrop. They don't understand the wicked things that they've done to our history. They don't understand it, and they don't understand why we're so protective of it, and they don't understand why we say we when it comes to African history in the Nile Valley. This is why we are possessive and we're protective, because it's African history and we're the ones defending it. The Egyptians aren't defending it. It was Zahi Hawass's ilk that had Lake Nasser flooded. He was happy to watch them flood Nubian artifacts. He was happy for that to happen. Mr. the pharaohs are my uncles and aunties. He was happy to destroy African history, and then he wants to turn around and then try and gaslight us and say, oh, this has got nothing to do with you. It's like, well, if we don't defend it, who is going to do that? Respectfully, you know.
Well, there is, but the key point about this is that the most majestic and magnificent and kind of, in a way, inexplicable are the Giza pyramids.
Yes.
And that's become your life's obsession. Would you accept the word obsession?
You know, I spent my life working and writing and defending and talking about it and lecturing. And
profiting and commodifying and writing books and selling for extortionate value.
I always base what I say on evidence. I never say something that I create. No. When I say anything about Khufu Pyramid, I always give evidence and what
we're going to come to the Khufu Pyramid in particular, because there's been a new discovery concerning that. But let's start because,
and you know, it's funny that part of everything he's saying is in essence true, but then part of it is like, well, what have you actually proven? You know, in my view, you know, he's just ran away with theories. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? He just ran away with theory. So his whole like national project theory now, he's run away with that. But in the midst of that, he hasn't been able to even explain how they cut the block shit. Yes, he found tools and he showed pictures. Go to my book, see the pictures of the tools. And I've seen the tools, and it's like, okay, these tools don't explain that granite block cut to precision. You haven't explained the precision. You haven't explained the, you know, the perfection. You haven't explained the number of them. You haven't explained how like it would take 20 years using the tools that you've provided to make one block, and you're suggesting that they made 1 million blocks. Do you understand? So this is the problem. You haven't really explained anything.
Because since you last appeared on Uncensored, the main event in the world of Egyptology, for want of a better phrase, has been the opening of the Grand Egyptian Museum in Giza in November 2025. We're looking at some footage over here. It's the largest archaeological museum in the world dedicated to a single civilization.
Now, you guys know that I have very mixed feelings about the Grand Egyptian Museum, and I'm going to be honest with you, as I've had a chance to really digest and kind of, you know, really kind of ruminate and just like ponder the Grand Egyptian Museum, I'm more and more, I dislike it more and more. Okay. I saw this statue. This is a statue of Ramesses, a fantastic statue that's at the entrance. One of the greatest reasons I dislike it, the Grand Egyptian Museum. First of all, in fact, there's a video that I really wanted to show you guys. When I was like halfway through the Grand Egyptian Museum, I actually recorded a video. So I found it on my phone. It's like a selfie video. And I just literally explained how fatiguing the entire experience was. And I feel like I'd really like to show you guys that video. But anything, it doesn't play videos because they're recorded in 4K. I try and stream them and it never works. I'll figure out a way. Maybe I'll figure out a way of doing it. I don't know. I would like to share that with you. But yeah, I recorded the video when I was halfway through because I was just so fatigued with the whole experience. But the thing about the Grand Egyptian Museum that I have a massive problem with is that they are stripping Kemet. So this is what the Grand Egyptian Museum, you know, Zahi Hawass is going to probably go on to explain why it was so important for them to build the Grand Egyptian Museum. It was so important for them to kind of like build this new museum. They spent over £1 billion, you know, constructing this massive museum. But when you go there, you realize, when you go to all Egyptian museums, but particularly like the Cairo Museum, the old Cairo Museum and the Grand Egyptian Museum, you realize how much of a business ancient Egypt is, how much of a business Kemet is. It's just a business. Do you understand? Everything is getting shoved in a box and moved here and moved there, and everything's just getting moved around, and you know, it's cleaned. You know, they love their cleaning. One thing about going to Egypt as well is you're better off if you want to see, or think, and I said this before, and I'm going to say this again now. I've got 220 on a live stream, and lots of people probably watch this later as well. Let me say something very clearly. If you want to see authentic, or more authentic, less tampered Egyptian artifacts or Kemetic artifacts, go to museums. Because I will tell you right now, everything in Egypt has been tampered. They tamper constantly. They tamper, they move, they tamper some more, they move, they tamper some more. All of the old kingdom artifacts have been painted a bright brick red, and you know it's not the original color. Yeah, all of the women have got bright yellow, like everything has been you know, there's been so much, you know, so much retouching. And here's the worst thing, it's the actual features. So you'll have a really old artifact that you're looking at, and then the nose will be really like, you'll see the marks, the knife marks in the nose. And it's like, first of all, ancient Egyptian art didn't really leave like knife marks and stuff like that. But secondly, even if there were, those would corrode, because then you're looking at the skin, and that's like kind of like a bit, you know, you get that corrosion over time where little crevices form and stuff like that. It's like all of this should be in this state. Why would the nose look all fresh? And that's because they're just constantly contouring and changing. And it was just like, that's one of the things that I actually found most draining when I was there. I was just like, oh, I just want to see what this thing looked like when you found it, you damn thieves, man. I just want to see what it looked like when you found it. I don't know who saw the post that I put up the other day of, that was like a recent discovery. I think it was 2024, recently-ish, a couple of years ago. And it had those, and I kind of showed you what the color would look like if it was restored. I did a post literally just like, I think it was yesterday. And I just did a basic kind of like 1-for-1 restoration by using the remaining paint that was on there and just kind of applying it. All AI. I didn't do any like handiwork there, but I just did to show you this is what this would have looked like if this color that has faded away was on, and they looked authentically African. And then I showed you what their repainted artifact looks like. So they got this one artifact that's clearly been repainted, because I always talk about the fact that you know it's been repainted when the kind of like the black around the eyes and then black in the hair, if it's really solid, you know that they've just like repainted that. And it just looked nothing like the other artifacts. And it's just kind of like this, they do this constantly. It's really, really frustrating. Really, really, very, very frustrating. And it's very disheartening. It's a very good word here. It's absolutely disheartening. But the good thing is there's still loads of artifacts in museums, and you'll get a more authentic experience. You go to Neuer's museum, you'll see what authentic, untampered works look like. And even obviously these Egyptologists, especially like the German ones, they're like some of the worst, but they're less bad, less worse than the Egyptians. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's less worse than the Egyptians. And I know worse is not a word. British Museum, all of the, you know, the Louvre, go to Vatican, like everywhere you go, the different various museums, you'll get better, less tampered works than the ones that are actually in Cairo and the Grand Egyptian Museum. You'll get the occasional ones that haven't been touched, I say yet, you know.
Displayed together for the first time. It cost over $1 billion.
$2 billion.
$2 billion.
Yeah.
Wow. And Dr. Zahi, your credit has been the mastermind of this project. When you finally got to open this,
so you had $2 billion, so that's like 1.8 5 million pounds, hugely expensive. And when I was there and I was in the building, I was like, this is £1 billion worth of work. And that was before I knew what they had spent. I was like, this is definitely like $1 billion or something, because this building is outrageous.
What were you feeling?
You know, I have to tell you, the Grand Museum was really our dream. Is to show to the world that we are building a museum that nothing like it at all. You know, when I debate people about returning stolen,
and it achieves all of that. Here's the issue, and this is what I was going to raise before. It's definitely, I've said it before, it's the most, in terms of museums, you've never seen anything like it. If you go to see the Grand Egyptian Museum, it's nothing. There's no museum in the world that looks like it. Yeah. Even the Cairo Museum is huge. So the Cairo Museum is huge, but it's not like you've seen better, more impressive museums. The Grand Egyptian Museum is like, okay, this is the most impressive space I've probably ever walked in. You know, here's the issue. The Grand Egyptian Museum is full of artifacts that should be in temples. So this is the big difference with the Grand Egyptian Museum. They've stripped the nation and they've put everything on display. The Grand Egyptian Museum is like Egypt's big declaration. Hey, Egypt's for sale. Kemet's for sale. You know, this is like, it's the ultimate disrespect. And I think I had a conversation with, I've forgotten her name, Malance Bart Williams, a few months ago. And she kind of like helped me to contextualize what I was feeling. Because she's like, you know, these things have been taken out of their context. And I was like, that's it. That's the issue I've got here. So you're going through and it's like, this used to be in Luxor. It's like I posted this statue of Josa with the big afro. You know, it's Josa with the big afro. So I posted that statue. Like, this is a good few months back after I just come back. But I know for a fact that was in a temple. Okay. I know for a fact that was in a temple complex before, because someone, when I first started my channel, sent me a picture of it. And so you've got all of this stuff, these statues, these really beautiful artworks. I'm like, well, these used to be in situ in Luxor and different parts, you know, and then there, and it's like, nope, now everything's just getting cut out and shoved in this. So they've just taken it. If you really respected the ancestors and you really respected this as your ancestry, Grand Egyptian Museum wouldn't exist. In fact, the idea of putting Egyptian monuments wouldn't exist. If this really was your ancestry, you wouldn't be putting all this stuff in museums. Your ancestors wouldn't be in glass caskets for everybody to see and to look at their dead bodies. Their statues wouldn't be cut out of place in situ. What you would have done is you would have figured out a way of allowing people to enjoy the various monuments in situ around the world, not pull them out of the place that they were intended to exist and shove them in the middle of your you know, your hub city, which isn't even the home of native Egyptians, the home of foreigners, and just shove it in the middle of that. That's what you did. And this is why as big and as grand as it was, I didn't enjoy my experience in the Grand Egyptian Museum. I didn't enjoy it. So yeah, that's just my feedback.
Artifacts. People used to tell me, you don't have good museums. You have bad museums. Why do we send you our artifacts back? I did a debate with the Oxford student, and people said the same. But this is why we built this museum. We moved.
And so he's had criticism. It's ironic, getting criticized. It's a bit of a gaslight, isn't it? Getting criticized by the British. Be like, why should we give your artifacts back? Your museums suck. So typically British people have got no British people have got no chill. Yeah, they're so disrespectful. We're not going to give you back your artifacts. You can't even look after them. Look at outside. But in the defense of the British, if you go to Cairo Museum, you understand what they're saying. I don't think their criticism there was against the actual museum. They built the museum in Cairo, by the way. Cairo Museum is a British thing. They just gave it to the Egyptians. Okay, that's a Eurocentric thing. Okay, they built that. Yeah, that's their museum handed over to the Egyptian antiquities. The Egyptian antiquities did not build Cairo Museum. But if you go there and you see stuff just shoved in the corner, you know, about to be boxed, or stuff coming out of boxes. And just like, if you see the way they treat the ancient Egyptian artifacts, you'll understand the reluctance. Like, the kind of disrespect you see for the artifacts is not the kind of disrespect that you'll see if you go to the Louvre, or if you go to, you know, the Noyers, or if you go to the British Museum, or if you go to these there's just a different level of disrespect that they treat these artifacts with. And that's probably where a little bit of this sentiment came for. Not to make too many excuses for the British, because like I said, they got no chill.
Comes with the second statue from the train station to receive everyone. We moved the boat, Khufu's boat, that located south of the Great Pyramid, to a small museum next to the Great Pyramid. 100 statues of kings and queens, and the most important are Tutankhamun. More than 5,000 artifacts are shown in a beautiful way for the first time. And
now, I did mention this when I went to Egypt last year. The Tutankhamun exhibit wasn't in the Grand Egyptian Museum yet; it was still in the Cairo Museum. So I saw the mask, golden mask, and I saw the golden throne, and I saw the golden chest and various other Tutankhamun artifacts. I didn't get a picture of the golden mask because they don't like to take a picture of it. It's the only place, I think. Well, that and the mummies. So there was the golden mask of Tutankhamun, and there was the mummies. So when you go to the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization, they have a underground exhibit of the various New Kingdom mummies, and they don't let you take your camera down there. So I had to take notes. Basically, I took loads and loads of notes. Next time I'll be going there with my not these ones, but I've got my Ray-Bans with the camera on. I'll do the I'll take my photos with my glasses, if they haven't cottoned onto that technology yet. But yes, they didn't let you take a picture of the golden mask of Tutankhamun, which, yeah, I've seen so many different versions. I feel like I don't even know if I'm looking at the real one at this stage, you know what I mean? Because there's replicas, and his facial, I've seen different versions, and his facial features are slightly different. So it's kind of like I didn't know what I was looking at. One of the most disturbing things was the golden throne. They were really hot tungsten lights that they shone on it, and I know they did this deliberately. First of all, they wanted the let me just bring back what he just showed here quickly.
Most important are Tutankhamun. More than 5,000 artifacts are shown in a beautiful.
First of all, you see the reddening of the skin. It's almost like bright red now. That, I think, has happened deliberately. This used to be a more browny red, a more kind of like naturalistic skin color, and now it's just like, it just looks red when you go there. So it just like, it's almost like like I said, a poster brick red. This is, I believe they're doing this deliberately. They're using the heat from the light to really kind of like damage the pigments, basically. And when I was there, I was just like, why would you? It doesn't even need that much light. It's gold, for God's sake. It just needs a normal, and using tungstens in this day and age when you could use LED. Those of you who know the difference in lights, you know, tungsten lights get incredibly hot. And I was like, these lights are, you know, I put my hand in front of us, like, these lights are friggin' boiling hot, and they've just got it beaming on this chair 24/7. I was like, this feels deliberate. Once again, I could be conspiratorial here, but it's kind of like, it just feels deliberate, man. Everything there always seems to be an agenda behind everything they're doing. They're so untrustworthy in the way that they treat these artifacts. It's unbelievable. But yeah, okay.
Way for the first time, and 12 galleries with more than 60.
What's been the reaction of people when they visit?
When we opened it, we had 43 kings, queens, and a president. And that was really a good message.
Amazing.
To tell people that Egypt is safe.
Yeah.
And the second thing, that from the opening until today, every day, 15,000 visitors.
Really? Every single day?
Every day. And we cannot take more than 15,000.
But that doesn't surprise me, because the reaction we...
Yeah, so I didn't have any problems booking. It was quite busy even when I went. But it definitely wasn't like packed like it probably is now in terms of number of visitors. So yeah,
we've had, whenever we do the pyramids on this show is enormous. I mean, it takes me by surprise that the global fascination with these objects, these pieces of historic architecture, is gigantic, isn't it?
It is, and also it has magic. Like if you come and look at an object with a beautiful display for the first time, and in a grand museum like this, and it's something fascinating everyone. I could.
And this is the thing, the way you speak, and I'm not gonna. This might be his experience. I'm gonna tell you my experience. It didn't resonate with me like that. I felt sadness, you know, because it genuinely felt like these things don't belong here. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they shouldn't have built an additional museum or this, that, and the other, but I think I mean, you can see how much they've moved into this. They had to fill it up. They've created this great space now. They had to fill it up. And as you can see, it's just added another layer of kind of like gung-ho, you know, deconstruction of the ancient Egyptian civilization. Like you're looking at, I think I explained to you guys, you'll see colossal statues. This is how big the museum is. They have full-size, full-length colossal statues indoors. Like colossal statues. I'm like, well, these things weren't built to be inside this building. They were built to be inside a temple complex, or inside a, you know, they weren't supposed to be here. And it's like, now you can see everything now in the even the people who will support it. So, like, you know, I did the live stream about Bassem Youssef a couple of days ago, and I imagine he's very, oh yes, we built this great museum, and they'll claim our aunties and our uncles, and this is our civilization. It's like, well, are you okay with Luxor being stripped? Are you okay with Aswan being stripped? Are you okay with Dendera and all these different places? Komombo, are you okay? Are you okay with all of these ancient Egyptian towns and cities and places and temples being stripped so that this place can be populated with artifacts? Those things that have sat there for several thousands of years, haven't moved, sat in situ, are now just being transported for the sake of, some of these things could have stayed. They weren't supposed to move. You're now doing not only the Eurocentric jobs, you're doing the very thing you criticize the Europeans for, you're doing, but you think it's okay because you haven't moved them outside of the nation. It's like, okay, if that's your logic.
See people who go in front of the Golden Mosque, they cry.
Really?
They could not believe that they see a beautiful object like this, 11 kilos of gold. And this is why most of the visitors go and stood in front of the Golden Mosque of Tutankhamun.
The museum houses the world-famous Tutankhamun collection. It was the British, in the form of Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon, who...
Sorry, I'm going to put this comment on the screen because I actually think it's quite astute. I never thought of it that way, but I think this is something we can all ponder. He said, the Grand Museum, shout out to Afrakem Deity 6080, said, the Grand Museum concerns me because it looks like a repeat of the Alexandria Library, and we all know what happened to that. Isn't that interesting? The Greeks put the majority of Kemet's knowledge there, and it caught fire. And that's I think that's very profound, because Alexandria became known as the center of knowledge, but all Alexandria was a place where the Greeks translated Kemetic texts, just translated everything, all of the knowledge, and now all of that knowledge then gets associated with the Greeks, and then everything's linked to Greek Enlightenment and Greek philosophy, this, that, and the other, and it's just bastardized knowledge that they stole from Kemet. The Greeks didn't have the longevity and didn't have the dispensational necessity of peace that you need to be able to develop that kind of philosophy. They didn't even have the dispensational time required for observation, because a lot of great philosophy is based on observation. So you have the Greeks the Greeks translating all of the knowledge of Kemet, and then all of that knowledge transfer into the Greek philosophers, and that's what gives us Greek philosophy to this day. Now, obviously, we don't have the evidence of the Library of Alexandria, but the point is that a lot of the knowledge that we now ascribe to these Greek philosophers came with their training in Kemet. And this is the issue: who gets associated with it? And this is so the museum is certainly a good parallel to that, you know. So now Cairo is just associated with, you know, are they going to move all of Kemet into Cairo? It's a very interesting point. So yeah, shout out to you for that one. So I like that thought. Appreciate that.
Who were behind the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. And at the time, discovery of the British, the museum houses the world famous Tutankhamun collection. It was the British, in the form of Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon, who were behind the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922. And at the time, and ever since, there have been lots of accusations that the evacuation was grave robbing and a kind of cultural colonization by the British. Do you believe that?
I do believe, but even I believe in that, but I do respect Howard Carter.
I can't believe he just said that. Well, actually, I can believe he just said that. He just said, I respect Howard Carter. Now, I understand why he said that. But once again, it's that kind of like, did anything that Howard Carter do, would anything that Howard Carter did offend someone who doesn't truly have ancestry or any connection to the civilization? Because he's not someone who has any ignorance about Howard Carter's deeds, okay? Howard Carter hacked the complete body of Tutankhamun into several tiny pieces in order to strip him of all of his pharaonic accoutrements. He used a hot knife to separate his skull cap from his skull. He showed total disregard to the ancient Egyptian. If he's read the notes, and I'm sure he has, he would also know that Howard Carter performed cleaning on site. Okay, so he performed cleaning. That's not the job of an archaeologist. The job of an archaeologist at the most is soft brush. Okay, archaeologists come in, they soft brush everything, you know, they get the brushes out, they soft brush everything, and the artifacts go. And then restorationists, which is a completely different area of expertise, are the ones who are supposed to be responsible for the restoring process. Howard Carter, being the Eurocentrist, the Hamitic hypothesis believing Eurocentrist that he was, didn't like the blackness of Tutankhamun. And it's in my book. Well, I'm sure I'll do a documentary about it as well, where I go through the notes of Howard Carter and speak about the fact that he basically made sure he stripped every single ushabti of Tutankhamun down to the bare wood using a mixture of amyl acetate and something else, I can't remember. But basically, he just used a chemical compound. He only believed the skin, sorry, he only believed the bare wood was representative of skin. So when he'd get these ushabtis out and they were dark brown in color, he would treat the dark brown color as though the dark brown color was dirt. And he used to call the wood flesh color. So his term for when he stripped it down to the wood was called flesh color. I've got all of this evidence, by the way. So Howard Carter, as part of his excavation process, is every ushabti went through this process. So he not only pillaged the tomb of Tutankhamun, he also refaced everything that he had the capability to reface. So I don't think there's any possibility Zahi Hawass doesn't know that this took place, but I don't think he cares, because in the end it benefits him if a brown statue is lightened to his complexion. He's gonna be happy with that, because then, hey, they look more Egyptian now. But Carter was absolutely abhorrent to ancient Egyptian artifacts. Now, thankfully, I think they mentioned it later, is that he died a few months later. You know, such is karma. You know. So, but what a horrid man. Literally, like he showed no respect. So The fact that Zahi Hawass says that he respects him, that goes, well, I don't even know if it goes in my head. I don't understand it. I don't understand how anyone could respect what Carter did. He showed, if you really believe this is your ancestor, he showed your ancestor that he could have shown him more disdain. We have literal pictures of decapitated Tutankhamun, of his head just sitting on a table. When they found him, he was perfect, and he had the 3 coffins around him, perfect and untouched. And by the time they're done with him, they were able to place his head on a table and take a photo of it. And you say you respect this man. It's disgusting.
Carter was not educated, but he was a great man who educated himself and became, in my opinion, the best archaeologist of that time.
Really?
He excavated 5,398 objects in a beautiful way.
If they hadn't done what they did, would you have had this amazing part of your
No,
museum?
never.
I mean, so it is a kind of means
It is
to an end.
because of Howard Carter.
Yeah.
We can really thank him for
But you
that.
think it was a form of...
Yeah, his praise for Carter is gushing. Absolutely gushing. It's just horrible.
grave robbing? That it was...
Because Lord Carnarvon was a businessman and he wanted to make money. And this is why he was shocked when he found out that he cannot take any object from the tomb, because the law say if you discover an intact tomb, you cannot take anything out of Egypt. And this made him to take lots of objects out of the tomb.
People said he was cursed.
So he snuck objects out of the tomb so that he could get them out of Egypt. And he still respects him. And he clearly has no problem with the methods that he used. I don't understand that. I don't understand where the gushing praise is coming from.
As a result of it, do you believe
No, but he came to Egypt because he was sick. The idea of the curse, people created that because Lord Carnarvon gave exclusive rights to London Times.
Really?
Then the other people in the press could not write anything. And this is why when he died 5 months after the discovery, they created the idea of the curse of Tutankhamun.
You've set up a...
He would like that, wouldn't he? Yeah, it wasn't real. They created the curse. So I like to think that the ancestors smoked that demon where he stood. Maybe they did. Shout out to CD5516. Appreciate your $2 donation. So much appreciated. Thank you for appreciating the research, the work, and the time that I commit. Appreciate you.
The 1 million signature petition. This is to demand the return of 3 other great Egyptian artifacts back to the homeland of Egypt. The bust of Nefertiti, which is in Berlin, the Rosetta Stone in London, and the Dendera Zodiac in Paris. And on the...
This is hilarious. So just bring that back in case you missed that. So he's started a petition to get artifacts returned back to ancient Egypt that sit in foreign museums, and begin with
you've set up the 1 million signature petition. This is to demand the return of 3 other great Egyptian artifacts back to the homeland of Egypt. The bust of Nefertiti.
Bring us back our plaster bust. Look at this thing, for God's sake, man. Seriously, this thing has 1 eye and it's made out of plaster. Are we really debating the authenticity of this clad trap in 2026? Are we really doing that? Like, it's made out of plaster. Like, you just have to say, okay, where's the other one? Where's the other one? Oh, it's actually quite interesting as well. I was looking at the the core of this bust, okay, is genuine, okay, because there was a pair of them. It was this one and an Akhenaten bust, and they were made out of limestone. And if you see the Akhenaten bust, in fact, let me pull up the Akhenaten bust for you. Let me give you guys some joke really quickly. This won't take me long, bear with me. Just got to remember the code for it. I think it's like it's called 21360 or something like that. Let me just quickly make sure I got that right. And it is. So here we go. Let me just pull this onto the screen for you guys. Okay. So this is how the bust of Akhenaten was found. Yeah. Let me just quickly make that bigger on the screen. Okay. So this is how the bust of Akhenaten was found. And this is very likely similar condition to the bust of Nefertiti. Okay. This is what the pure limestone core looks like. This is the kind of degradation that you probably would expect given, you know, the location of Thutmose and the fact it was, I think this one was found face down, but this is what you kind of would expect. Okay, several thousands of years, just been allowed to corrode, no features. Now here's what's really interesting about this. Nefertiti's bust isn't the only one they started tampering with. They also started tampering with this one. So if I quickly just let me zoom. So, okay, what is this? Get lost. Go away. Yeah, so if I just quickly, I just told you to close. P off. I don't even use that rubbish app. Shut up. Okay, sorry. Getting vexed here with an app. All right, so this is what it looked like when they found it. Okay, stay with me, yeah? Now, this is how far, let me show you how. So this is what it looks like. I want you all to take in, this is what it looks like when they found it. Okay, no features there. Okay, you can't make out. Yeah, now this, let me show you, this is what it looks like right now on display in the Noyes Museum. So this is what it looks like now. Can you see, they managed to get a certain percentage of a way through creating a new face, but they didn't manage to finish. This is as far as they got, just like Nefertiti with a one eye. So they were in the process of making a new face for Akhenaten as well. These lips aren't his original ones. Now, when you read the transcripts, they'll say, although they found these lips on the floor, in these perfectly shaped, clearly plaster lips. These are 100% made out of plaster. These are not limestone lips. Okay, so there's no way these lips would have just survived on the floor fully intact. You can see from the first image that this is corrosion. Okay, this is corrosion. There's no way that those lips just survived intact somewhere. Like they broke the statue and somehow the lips look really good, but the rest of the statue, you can see the corrosion, guys. This is just like completely broken and corroded down. This is all that was left of the statue. And yet these lips are now on the statue. So this is just like a smoking gun when it comes to the whole Nefertiti thing. It's kind of like, well, we can see what you're doing because you were halfway through doing it here. Yeah, you had a limestone core and then you started molding a plaster face for it, but we've only got half a plaster face for this one. They don't have it like this. That's it. Like there's no debate to be had about the authenticity of the Nefertiti bust. It absolutely is a fake. It's not even like the fact that there are defenders of it in 2026 in Egyptology, in academia, is just disgusting. It's kind of like we can see what you're doing in real time. Now, if you're an Egyptologist in denial, you'll believe that these lips, which they, by the way, pull in and pull out. There's sometimes the lips are in, sometimes they don't show. These lips are really a part of the original statue, and we just happen to find them intact, and they happen to just slot right into that spot. Anyone with common sense would say you made those lips. Clearly, you made those lips. Yeah, you've made those lips on top of these plaster lips. You've made them on top of the limestone core, just like you did with Nefertiti. That's what anyone with common sense would say. It's like, come on, guys, let's just stop, you know, stop, you know, taking us for idiots. We can't keep falling for the nonsense they put on there. And anyway, let me give a quick shout out to Stephen. Appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much for the $40 donation. He said, thank you, King. Your pushback at this physical and intellectual vandalism is much appreciated. You've helped to arm us with a language to combat the lies and gaslighting from these jackals. I wish I could help you. Well, you are with that donation. And I'm glad that you've said that. This, I think us being in a position where we have the language and we have the evidence to push back against their nonsense is important, because the thing they've benefited from more than ever, or more than anything, is the lack of pushback. That's why Egyptologists have just been pushing through crap like the reserve heads, because no one's pushed back on them. No one had a reason to. The Egyptians don't want to push back on them. The Eurocentrists can't be bothered to push back on them. It takes someone to turn around and say, hey, this story that you're giving us makes absolutely zero sense, and we're not gonna have it. We're not gonna have it anymore. But thank you very much for your $40 donation. It's much appreciated, brother. Let's carry on.
Which is in Berlin, the Rosetta Stone in London, and the Dendera Zodiac in Paris. And on the
See, I knew the Rosetta Stone was in London, but I wasn't sure if it was the original, because there's duplicates in like almost every major museum. So I wasn't sure which one was the correct one. It's the same thing with the Nama Palette. I thought the Nama Palette was in London, but I think the original is in the Cairo Museum. So there's lots of kind of like duplicate artifacts that look almost identical to the first one. But yeah, so the Rosetta Stone, the original one, apparently is in the British Museum. And I did hear an interesting argument actually about whether or not the Rosetta Stone should be returned. And this is the only one where I was like, okay, kind of see. And the point was that, well, actually, here's the interesting thing. Actually, I just realized it was a really bad point, because I think the point was that, well, we don't need to return it because you guys didn't know it was valuable until we used it to translate the ancient Egyptian language. Until then, it was just kind of like, you know, it was made during the I'm guessing the Ptolemaic era, because the three languages on it are ancient Egyptian, Demotic, and Greek. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's correct. So ancient Egyptian, Demotic, and Greek, and it took us to basically translate it. But then now I'm thinking about it, it was Champollion, who the younger, who first translated it. If I'm correct, correct me if I'm incorrect, but I think that's right. It was Champollion the Younger. He's French. It's not even in France. It's not in the Louvre. It's in the British Museum. So even that argument's invalid. So maybe, I don't know. How do you guys feel about actually whether or not these artifacts should be returned to Egypt? Because I'm like, I don't think just because of the way Egypt is with the commodifying, the heavy commodifying of everything, the more artifacts they have, the more falsification, the more likely it's going to be tampered with, and the more lies that tell around it. Because even beyond the actual physical tampering, you get the academic tampering with the Egyptian Egyptologists. Yes, we were the first to do this, and we did this. Oh my God, shut up, man. These guys are just like they just talk. Like, one thing that I've noted, and this could sound quite harsh, but I don't feel like the Egyptian Egyptologists add any value. They just parrot basically the groundwork that they'd been given by the Eurocentrists, with a little sprinkling of Hawassism on top, and that's it. That's the whole education system of the Egyptian Egyptologists. There's no originality. There's no original research. It's just kind of like, it's just, you know, Eurocentrism mixed with Pharaonism, and that's it. You know, there's nothing. I don't rate it, to be totally honest with you. Let me give a quick shout out to CD again. Thank you very much. He says Zahi Hawass and Egyptian comedian were Amu in Kemet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, if they were mentioned at all. But yeah, let's call them the Amu. Yeah, appreciate you very much. Thank you very much for your $2. Let's carry on.
Website you've written, when artifacts are removed from Egypt illegally and sold, this only encourages and emboldens thieves. I'm sorry to say that museums that continue to display these artifacts and refuse to return them only continue to participate in imperialism. I cannot be believed when they denounce it. I mean, they're strong words. I mean, I guess what they would say is, isn't the reality about ancient artifacts that they're scattered all over the world? A lot of them may have been acquired by slightly nefarious means hundreds of years ago, or wherever it may be. Do we really want to apply today's morality, law, and so on, to go back to, you know, ancient history in some cases and claim proprietorial rights? Because I would imagine all those countries, Germany, the UK, France, they might say, well, hang on, if you're going to play that game, there will be some stuff in the Middle East that we want back. In other words, it never ends once you start that. What do you say to them?
This is like the definition of being stuck between a rock and a hard place. And a hard place. On the left in the blue corner, we have the English bigot. the unrepentant colonizer, the imperial bastard. His name is Piers Morgan. And in the red corner on the right, we have the Pharaonism pushing, the gatekeeping, the Arab-centric. It's like, whose side do you choose in this battle? Like, they're both like, you got one who's just an unapologetic piece of shit, respectfully, Piers Morgan. It's kind of like, well, should we really give them back? You know, because at the end of the day, if you start asking for this, well, our museum to be empty. It's like, well, whose fault is that? Like, display your own stuff, innit? That's how this shit should work, innit? Display your own stuff. Yes, you can't just go around the world picking and choosing the best bits of the empire and then put it on display. So you got him on the one hand making a stupid argument for imperialism, and on the other hand, you've got Zahi Hawass, who I don't want him to get any of the stuff back anyway, because look what he does. He just shoves, like, look how they treat their stuff. It's just going to be carted in boxes and tampered and this, that. Who do you want to win this battle? Who do you want to? God knows.
But listen, if you look at what happened in the past during imperialism, when the British occupied Egypt, look how they really, destroyed the country by taking the treasures out. Look at artifacts in the British Museum.
Look what you guys done to Aswan. Sorry, look what you done to Nubia, I should say, not even Aswan. Look what you guys did to Merowe. Look at Nate Nasser. You're gonna sit there with your accusatory tone, pointing your finger at the British. Look what you done to the look what you did. Look what you guys did. You flooded an entire civilization. You dogs. You're gonna sit there complaining and moaning like you.
I can tell you, Budge, he was the curator of that museum.
Yes.
Read what he wrote, how he took an objects out. The Ani papyri, one of the most important papyri.
Budge was low-key gangster. I'm not gonna lie, he low-key is one of my favorite. He's one of my favorite Egyptologists, I'm not gonna lie. I low-key like Budge because he did everything he did was so gangster. If you're gonna like a racist, I think Budge definitely he sits quite high. I quite like Budge. I'm not gonna lie, I quite like him.
You know how he took it out of the country? It's a sad story. The papyri was in a store. He brought kebab to the guards and he began to eat with them. And other people around him dug underneath and they took the papyri out. Yes. Then what I'm saying,
that's gangster. That's gangster. My mum did a similar thing. Yeah, I remember when I was growing up here, my mum wanted our driveway done. This is the most gangster thing I've seen done. Yeah, so in the UK you have to get your curb lowered if you want a driveway. Yeah, so my mum knew she wanted a driveway. She knew, and you have to pay the council, and then you have to go through planning permission. It takes a little while for them to grant it to you. So the guys were out the front of our house, and I was young. I was like a real kid. Yeah, the guys were outside the front of my house. Yeah, lowering my neighbor's driveway, and my mum went into the kitchen. She got a 6-pack of beer. Yeah, it was like a hot summer's day. She got like a 6-pack of beer. And she said, I've got loads of these. These are, because we just had a party, I think, a few days before. So I've got loads of these. These are unlimited. Do you mind lowering my drive? And they were like, sure thing, Rose. And they lowered my drive for the cost of a few 6-packs of beer. So that reminds me of what Budge did there. He went out and gave the guards kebabs and then looted the papyrus. Oh, you can't hate on that, man. He's a G. That is absolutely gangster. That gets my ratings.
And that's now in the British Museum.
It is in the British Museum now, one of the most important artifacts. What I am saying, I'm not after it.
It's in the museum as well. He didn't even put it in the private market. Budge was I think he was the first curator for the British Museum, if I remember correctly. So it was like the first curator. Like I've got one of his old books. Shout out Kapruki. Kapruki, look what Kapruki bought me. Let me show you guys really quickly. Shout out Kapruki. I haven't seen him online for a little while. He's studying, by the way. He's an absolute. He's gonna be a beast. Trust me. Wait for Kapruki to start. Like really, like he's gonna be a beast. But Kapruki went to a charity shop and he bought me these original collections, or I think he's lent. I can't remember if he lent them or gave them to me, but he hasn't been back for them. No, but they're still his. They're still his. Like I'm on camera showing them. Yeah. These are the original collection magazines of the British Museum when Budge was in charge. Yeah. This is, did you see that picture? Do you remember that picture I shared of Amenhotep III's colossal bust? It was taken from one of these. So he's given me like 4 of these. Some of them don't even have covers, but like how sick is that? Like this is like, you won't get this information anywhere else. These are the original collection magazines. So I'm going through these and I'm seeing what artifacts looked like when they first arrived in the early 20th century. 1909, this one's dated to. How gangster is that? So shout out Kapruki. Got a lot of love for that kid. Haven't seen him for a little while. I know he's just studying hard at the moment. I can't wait for him to come back out with something again. But yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys. So Budge is a G.
Do you want them to hand it back?
No, I'm not after. This is the story. I'm not after every artifact back at all. What is in the British Museum is stay.
Okay.
I am saying.
So why are you exercised about these particular?
I am saying we need one artifact from the British Museum, the Rosetta Stone.
Yes.
It is.
Oh, by the way, as well, the picture of Second Wajtari Ra, the 13th dynasty pharaoh whose nose got cut off. I've shared the story quite a few times. He's in the British Museum now as Sebekhem Saf. So they've kind of renamed him, called him a 17th dynasty pharaoh. So for some reason, they've changed him from a Middle Kingdom. That statue, by the way, is a Middle Kingdom statue. Just everything about it physically. I know for a fact that's a Middle Kingdom statue. So I know that it's mislabeled currently in the British Museum as 17th dynasty Sebekhem Saf. It should be 13th dynasty second Wajtari Ra. That should be who should be labeled as. He had his nose intact in that magazine and now his nose is gone. So we got his nose intact in those magazines and now he has no nose. And they say that the claim that they've made since is that the nose that he had was a repaired nose and it was incorrect, so they removed it. And it's kind of like, do you know how many repaired items there are? In fact, at the front of the British Museum, there's the 2 statues of Amenhotep III, which are almost entirely reconstructed from fragments. So they were all entirely broken down, and you haven't seen them smash those back to their original form. This would be totally bizarre for them to do, because the amount of reshaping noses, etc., that they've got in the British Museum says that that was not the reason. That nose was likely the original nose and they've removed it. But there you go.
It's the icon of the Egyptian identity.
What's it worth, the Rosetta Stone?
It was found in a site called Rosetta near Alexandria, and it was written in 2 languages: the ancient Egyptian language, hieroglyphic and demotic, and the Greek language. And Champollion was really the one who discovered.
What's his value now? Would you think
the value?
Yeah,
the value, because this is the icon of the Egyptian identity.
What would it be?
But I tell you something very important. When I came the first time to England here, I did 2.
It's funny because Piers Morgan is obsessed with finding out the value of it, and Zahi Hawass is just going to ignore that question. He's asked it like twice now. And he's just giving it back. It's discovered by Champollion the first. It's quite funny. He's not going to answer the question. Shout out to African Deity. Thank you very much for your $50. Shout out to you, my brother. I appreciate that. So thanks for covering this and highlighting my comment. It was a concern of mine because it looked like history repeated itself, and when conflict breaks out, artifacts get destroyed. Like what happened recently in Sudan's Sultan Ali Dinar Museum. It's really sad. There's a lot of this that goes on. I can't help but think that here's a conspiracy theory that you may or may not want to ride with. I think many conflicts are more linked to the destruction of African artifacts than we might think. I think France's what we're seeing happen in Mali recently, I actually think a lot of that centers around Timbuktu. I think a huge amount of it centers around Timbuktu, and I thought this from the start because I actually think the invasion of Libya might have all been predicated around Timbuktu. And I know it's going to sound really crazy to you guys because you're kind of like, oh no, there's bigger fish to fry, you know, Gaddafi and the gold dinar. It's like, no, because the first thing that France did, the first thing that France did when Libya fell was they funded terrorists to go and raid Timbuktu. And they didn't completely destroy it, but what you don't know is loads of artifacts were destroyed. And I'm thinking to myself, did those artifacts contain things that they had discovered were there and they didn't want to exist? They didn't want them to be on record. And the reason why I say this is because doing the research I'm doing right now with the Operation Legacy and looking at the things that were on the African continent, which they don't want anyone to know were there, the things that have been taken from the African continent into Europe that they don't want anyone to know about. I think that is the big thing. Like there's certain truths that they'll go through great lengths to hide. And so that's what went through my mind. I was like, why straight, like the first outside of Libya, the first place to be attacked randomly was these extremists attacking Mali and in particular Timbuktu. That's the first thing that happened. The first thing that happened after Libya fell. And they couldn't do that whilst Gaddafi was in control because he had that entire region under lock and key. So I've got a big theory about that. And so, yeah, shout out to you, African DT6080. I appreciate you $50. And I also appreciate your comment because I ride with it. Let's carry on.
Two things. One, I took a taxi and I did visit the tomb of Howard Carter. And the second thing, I gave a talk at the British Museum. When I gave a talk at the British Museum, at the end, they made a dinner for me. And the director gave a speech. And I stood up to give a speech. And I had some jokes. I said, listen, I'm the only one who can talk to the pharaohs. While I was seated, Ramses II came to me. Said, Zahi, I miss Egypt so much. I want to go back. It's cold in London. And Thutmose III came and told me the same. But the two came back. I said, Zahi, no, we're not going to go with you. We take Rosetta Stone because Rosetta Stone is the icon of our Egyptian identity. It became next day, boom, in all the paper.
Bet you that's the first time you ever told a joke and it landed. That's why he's retelling the story. I was in there and I told this joke. I said, Ramesses, come to me. And he say, Zahi, I am called. Take me home. I bet he got a laugh. And that's the first time he's experienced that. And so now it's like, he tells that story everywhere he goes. But it is interesting, you know, like the question mark of how Egyptian is the Rosetta Stone. Don't the Greeks have an equal claim for it? Yeah, doesn't would you say the Macedonian Greeks have an equal claim for the Rosetta Stone? I mean, maybe a slightly greater claim. Did they have a greater claim for all of Alexandria? You know, you don't really see the Greeks make a big deal about Alexandria. They built that city. You know, it's interesting. It's an interesting discussion and debate to have, you know.
That Rosetta Stone was in a dark area in the British Museum because I said what I said about the
now
Rosetta
they put
Stone
it front center stage.
Became the most important thing.
But what is it worth, do you think?
It is. No.
That what he said there, that would be very on code in terms of I mean, that would be very typical of the British Museum. They hide things and they bring things out. You know, stuff goes into the basement, it's not seen for years, and then someone talks about it, and all of a sudden it's front and center. So, you know, maybe that's true what you're saying there in regards to them then putting it out for everyone to see after he makes his groundbreaking joke.
You were guessing a value.
No, the value is what is considering. Because of that, we know ancient Egypt. Because of that,
can you put a modern day value on it?
You never make a value for any objects.
Right.
It's priceless. These are priceless objects, and this is why I really.
You finally answered the question. I think it was a stupid question by Piers Morgan. How valuable is it? How much money do you think it's worth? Who talks about that when it comes to antiquities? What is he talking about? What a stupid question.
Ask for one object to come back. I'm not after most of the objects in the British Museum at all, or in any museum. I want the 3 objects to come back, and I will not stop.
I mean, you are sounding a bit like Indiana Jones now. How do you take that? Do you like that comparison?
It's not bad if the public loves someone and say things.
Have you ever met Harrison Ford?
We did projects together.
Really?
And if we do this live TV in this coming November, I would like him to be the one to be beside me.
Really?
Yeah, showing the whole world what we found inside the.
Does he know that you're known as the Indiana
Yeah, of course.
Jones?
Because George Lucas, when he came to Egypt, he came to do one thing. He said, I came here, I saw the pyramid 3 times. I came here to ask you one question. Why your hat became more famous than Harrison Ford hat? And I told him, my hat is the real archaeology hat, but the Harrison Ford hat is the fake one. And it's true. My hat now, people sell it, and the money went for the construction of the Children's Museum, and now for the hospital with cancer. And there is a movie made about my life. It's shown now. It's called The Man with the Hat. And there is a book.
Has Zahi Hawass really got a movie about his life? Wow, has he really got a movie about his life? That's something. That's something. Zahi Hawass biopic. That must be hot watching, man. I might search for it today. Who's playing Zahi Hawass in the Zahi Hawass movie? Oh Lord, this guy's really done the most, eh? He's got stories to tell his grandkids, man. Give him that.
Why are you not wearing this hat?
I was thinking really to come and appear with you in this show with the hat.
Okay, save it for my trip.
Next time.
Now, at the end of last year, you announced a new archaeological discovery inside the Pyramid of Khufu, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. Utilizing advanced scanning and robotic technologies, researchers detected what appears to be, this is fascinating, appears to be a 30-meter corridor leading to a sealed door within the pyramid. And it's said that what is behind the door could change Egyptology forever. So
Notice that they do this periodically when they have these new doors and these new things that are trying to get through, and then in the end they don't really find anything. But the fact that they found the new 30, think about this, just fathom this for a second. They found a new 30-meter corridor inside the pyramids. People are coming on this chat saying this guy knows how the pyramids are built, and we're still finding new corridors inside the pyramids. How? Houseway? How you know how it's built? You didn't even know there was a bloody additional 30-meter corridor inside it. This isn't like, like I keep saying, this isn't 4 walls. This isn't 4 walls and a roof, yeah, and stud walls inside. This is solid stone construction built with purpose-built passages, and it's beyond. It is so far beyond comprehension what, in terms of technology, what they built there. It really, really is. We have to just respect that. Yeah, this was not. This is not something you could just chuck up. Let me give a quick shout out to Yak Media for the $6 donation. He says, it's a disgrace that we're not fighting for our history. Everybody understand this. Only the majority of Africans has no interest. Well, I think there's the case of interest, and I also think there's the case of actual power, actual tangible power. How do you fight for it? What do we do? It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. What do we do? How do we go about it? It's a frustration, but I appreciate it. I think research is a big part, and at least that's the part that I'll play. We have to know what we're fighting for and where to look, because there's far more that we don't know than what we do. And I'm interested in the parts of our history that we don't know, not the parts that have already been told to us. But I appreciate you very much, and thank you very much, Yak Media, for your €6.
The obvious question is, what do you think's behind the door?
No, not behind the door. We have the doors. We have the 2 voids. We have a corridor. We have amazing things that we found until now. I still believe that Khufu's real burial chamber is still hidden inside the pyramid. And this void has to do with this.
Let me bring back what he just said there. Is he talking about his coffin again? Is he still on about coffins?
We have a corridor. We have amazing things that we found until now. I still believe that Khufu's real burial chamber is still hidden inside the pyramid.
So he's talking about burial chambers still. I mean, I thought we were past that, but I guess he has to ride with it because he has to go. It's a tomb. It's a giant tomb with corridors and underground complex and this, that, and the other, but it was just a tomb. It's like, it's not a tomb, man. Like, for God's sake, like, we can at least agree with that. You know, you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to understand that the pyramids are clearly not tombs. If you're like, if you're even going to use the tomb argument, you have to have theories for all of the star shafts and the additional corridors and the hidden doors and this, that, and the other. You have to have, you know, accompanying theories for that. If you don't know, if you genuinely like, look, we don't know what these additional corridors and this, that, and the other for, then you can't with your chest say this thing is just a tomb. You can't say that because there's too many unknowns. You have to at least concede that to the conspiratorial group and say, yes, this is the pyramids are a great unknown. What I hate is this kind of like certainty. It does frustrate me somewhat. And
this void has to do with this burial chamber.
So you think this will unlock that secret?
Exactly.
Really?
And this is why I really believe in this coming month. I have an English team working with me, and we worked last year and this year. Next month, we are going to find out how can we find out and look what could be underneath this voids.
I mean, how hard is it to get behind a sealed door in a pyramid?
But now you have to know that new technology now is different.
Yeah.
You do not need to drill anymore.
Right.
With this new technology like ultrasound,
you can see through the stone.
You can see what's behind. You can see what's inside. And
so when are you going to do this?
We are going to work in June. The English team is coming with these new techniques, and we're going to find out how we're going to find out what's inside. How can we look at this voice?
And tell me, I mean, could Khufu's tomb then?
It does feel like he's been saying the same thing for like 25 years when it comes to the pyramids, though, doesn't it? It just feels like there hasn't been any. It's always like promising, oh, we are going to really make the sky. It's like, it feels like deja vu somewhat, which is why I'm somewhat over it as well. I'm sure you guys can pick up on that. I'm not like that invested in this kind of like hunt for the secrets of the pyramids, because even when they do find it, they'll obscure or obfuscate what they find, and they'll make it, you know, you have to, I'm actually much more comfortable just to formulate my own conclusions and not really care about what they're discovering. I'm just being honest with you.
And become bigger than, say, Tutankhamun.
Oh, look, Khufu ruled for 28 years. He was.
And it's a good point. Let me just quickly say, I'll put this on here. Yeah. What RJ Mackenzie just said there. English team, why not a Nubian crew? Have you noticed how he's always partnering the two experts in ancient Egypt is me and this American guy? Have you noticed there's always this, because Egypt has never been out of partnership with Europe, okay? Handing over right now, the Egyptian antiquities are like puppet leaders in Africa. You know, it's like you're not really in charge. You know, they're like the South African government. No offense, guys, they're like the ANC. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah, you're in charge. Yeah, you're in charge, but you're not really in charge. Yeah, they're still doing everything as they're told to. You know, there's nothing independent about the way. You know, he still relies on Western experts. He doesn't respect the Egyptian experts enough, or he doesn't have a choice. He has to always be working with them. I'm sure he knows the answer to that question.
He was a great king. You know, he's the king really that I really believe. I wrote a novel about Khufu because I.
How do you find the time for all this stuff?
You know, I am workaholic.
Do you ever sleep?
I am workaholic.
Are you 7 days a week on pyramids?
No.
Let me just quickly give a shout out to, I think there's another donation that came through. Yes, thank you very much to Yak Media again. I think it's because of our priorities. We must focus more on European form of religion. Sorry, we focus more, not we must focus more. We focus more on European form of religion than trying to understand our own. We must have to change. So yeah, we must and have to change. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Abrahamic faiths are an issue in their European form. There has been a big move to reclaim the Abrahamic faiths, but from an African perspective. And I actually do respect that, because if you look at, it's interesting actually, I had an interview, and it's one of the things that I knew, but then having someone verbalize it was quite powerful. I had an interview with a guy called Dinala Hlango. I want to say his name properly. Dinala Hlango. He's a South African, a Zulu man. And I had an interview with him on my other channel, the King Mono Show. And we got to talking about the Bible. And he said, do you know how many times African places are mentioned in the Bible? I said, I don't know how many. He said, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think the figure was 1,500 times. And they said, do you know how many times Europe was mentioned? And I was like, I know it's close to 0. He said 7. So we have to even be very careful when we call the Bible or Christianity a European religion. It's not. It's another thing that they claimed, they bastardized, they repackaged, and they sold back to us. Yeah, so they've claimed, bastardized, repackaged, sold. But if you look at the locations in the Bible, they are majority African. They are lesser, to a lesser extent, the kind of like Middle East, and 0, almost 0 Europe. So this is an African religion. There's an African worldview these books have. I know I said his name wrong. Dinala Hlango. No, I'm saying his name wrong. Dinalo Hlango. I'm murdering this name. Sorry if you're watching, my brother. He has a channel called Something Nice with Dinano. I've just murdered his name. You have to forgive me. Shout out Kwafadas as well. He said, what's up, King? You may not remember, but I'm working on a Afro wiki to centralize the research of the community. It's ready to go into beta, and I would love if you could be on the beta tester. Where can I contact you? I'm going to put my email in the chat right now. You can contact me anytime, my brother, of course. That sounds like an amazing project. I would love to be involved. And there's my email in the chat. So just chuck me an email and we can discuss that further. Sounds like an amazing project. And thank you very much for your 20 euros as well. I always like a bit of progress, you know what I mean? Let's do it, man. Let's do it. So yeah, the point being, the Abrahamic faiths, both of them, both Islam and Christianity, are African at their core. But I agree that the versions we practice, you know, we practice kind of like an Ottoman version of Islam, and a European version, you know, Roman Catholicism, a European version of Christianity. And I think there needs to be a reclamation of them as spiritual systems before they're going to be of value to anybody on the African continent. That's my personal point of view on that. I'm not of any faith.
6 days.
Really? What day do you have off?
Because I have a young granddaughter. I play with her on Friday.
Friday. But otherwise, for 50 years, you thought about nothing else but pyramids.
Yes, you know, I wrote about Khufu pyramid books and articles, and I did.
So how exciting would it be?
You also nearly went to prison for stealing artifacts, and somehow you got off from that. He had charges against him. He had loads of charges against him. Very, very close to getting put in prison, and they suddenly disappeared. So that's interesting. That there's that interesting chapter in his life.
For you, just on a personal level, if you do discover that behind this corridor and sealed door is Khufu's tomb, how would that make you feel?
I would like to end my career by revealing the mystery and the secret of the Great Pyramid of Khufu.
Really?
This will make me.
That's the big one for you.
What mystery of the secret? You've sucked all the mystery and secret out of it. The only thing you can reveal is it was a tomb. You've already said it. What mystery and secret? When you spent too much time. I wouldn't say spend too much time, actually. I don't think that's true. But I guess when you're too mainstream, when you're too absolutist in your kind of like perspective of what they are, when you're trying your best to take really amazing technology and normalize it and explain it away, which is what he's done. He spent all of his time literally sucking the ingenuity, the mystery, the spiritual aspect, the unknownness of the pyramids, and they're just on a physical basis. That's what they are. That's what exists. And saying, no, this can be explained, and oh, I found the tools, and oh, I found the architect. Oh, we know that. Like, we don't know. What do you think you're at this stage gonna reveal that's gonna blow everyone's mind? Nothing. There's nothing to do, because you've removed everything that was of any mystery. If you actually approach this with honesty and humility, and we're like, these mysteries, we still don't know how they did this, we still don't know, and that the honest truth is they just don't know how they did anything, then you might be able to go out with a bang and a blaze of glory, but it's impossible for you to do that now. So I don't understand where he's going with that one.
It's the Holy Grail.
And this can answer all the questions about people think that I hide evidence about lost civilization. People accuse me all the time. But I said to people, how can I hide anything? You can't. I'm not working alone. There is a team around me. And this is why I want people to believe me and understand that as they want to reveal the secret of the pyramid, it's my role to do that for the world, not for them.
Would Khufu's tomb be a bigger Holy Grail discovery than Cleopatra's tomb?
Oh, not Cleopatra would be nothing in front of Khufu.
Really?
The discovery of the tomb of Khufu.
But maybe not to you, but to the wider world.
To the world, it's Khufu, because this king ruled.
Yeah, but if you went down London today and asked 100 people,
I mean, what's the obsession with Khufu's tomb? You know, especially if they found the tomb of Osiris with a skeleton inside it and then claimed you did, and it's like, what's the I don't understand. What's the obsession? What was he hoping to get from Khufu's tomb? Is he telling on himself here? Is he planning to do another bait and switch, which is one of Zahi Hawass's favorite things to do? He's going to find some random mummies lying in the sand somewhere with red hair, and then pull out and then go, I found Khufu! I have him! I have found Khufu! And I wouldn't put that past him. That's kind of his MO. You know what I mean? It sounds like he's kind of like setting up for that. You know what I mean? He's going to find the whitest he's gonna find the whitest mummy he can find, and then claim that he's found Khufu, and totally ignore Khufu's black looking statue. But you know, there you go. That would be him. That would definitely.
Have you heard of Khufu or Cleopatra?
Cleopatra, of course, but
she'd be more famous. So,
I know, but
so why would you position the discovery of Khufu's tomb above Cleopatra? Because I would say that globally,
because you will never discover the tomb of Cleopatra.
Why?
It's under the water.
How do you know?
Because we're searching in a temple for the tomb of Cleopatra for the last 20 years with Kathleen Martinez from the Dominican Republic, and we found nothing. And even diving now with Bill Billard, who found Titanic. But we know that Cleopatra built a palace. Near the palace, there is a tomb, and she was buried in this tomb that located under the water now.
So it'll never be discovered.
It'll never be discovered.
Under the water where? Does anyone know where it's under the water? I'm presuming he's talking about Alexandria. I'm guessing that's where Cleopatra, where the palace he's talking about would be. So was it flooded along the delta, or was it in Alexandria along the Mediterranean coastline? I'd be interested to know. What does he mean when he says underwater? If anyone knows, let me know.
Even on the river, on the seabed, or
and this is why I say,
is it a river or sea or
the Mediterranean?
So the sea.
The sea.
So is
Mediterranean, yeah. So definitely Alexandria then.
Is it not possible that it could be discovered?
Many people took the pillars and blocks from the palace, but nothing discovered.
But even if they found that, you would say that Khufu's tomb would be a bigger discovery.
There are 3 discoveries, could be the biggest that I'm waiting. One, the tomb of Queen Nefertiti in the Valley of the Kings.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Okay. So number 1, tomb of Nefertiti in the Valley of the Kings. Okay. Fine. Let's hear number 2.
The tomb of Imhotep, the first architect who built the first pyramid of stone.
So tomb of Imhotep. Okay.
And number 3, the burial chamber of Khufu inside the Great Pyramid. This will be the most fascinating, important discovery on Earth.
Amazing. And is this why?
Very interesting. How many Old Kingdom pharaohs have we actually ever found? That's an interesting question. How many Old Kingdom pharaohs do we actually have mummies for? I don't think we have many of them, or at least so they haven't showed them. RJ, I can see you. Let me give you a quick shout out. I appreciate your donation. Just sent me a reminder. Hi, King, I've made a donation. Don't ignore me. he knows I got form. Says King, do research on faiths Santiera and Candomblé on faiths Santiera and Candomblé. Give me some context, my brother. Give me some context, man. I'll wait a second. You give me some context later. No, you haven't. Yeah, give me some context, man. I appreciate the $2 though. Thank you very much.
Also, that you want the bust of Nefertiti back from Berlin.
I want the bust of Nefertiti back because it was stolen.
Right.
It was taken out of Egypt by a German thief. His name is Borchardt. It should come back. And we are fighting.
Oh, he called Borchardt a German thief. That's nice. Those of you who watch my documentary, that's interesting language. Because it sounds like he doesn't like Borchardt, which shocks me. Because how can you be okay with Carter, but then have an issue with Borchardt? That doesn't make any sense. And by the way, Borchardt's not a thief because he made that bust of Nefertiti. To be quite frank, that's why they're not giving it to you. They're like, hey, this is German technology here. You want this? You gotta pay for it. He made that bust. What are you talking about? Yeah. And it's interesting. They want the bust of Nefertiti. Have you been to the Neues Museum? The bust of Nefertiti is not even top 10 of the Nefertiti artworks. This is the worst thing. This is the irritating thing. They want the bust of Nefertiti because it shows her in her most in the most totally anomalous form. Yeah, it doesn't look like Nefertiti. Nefertiti's artworks are so consistently African looking. She always has these like lovely braids, thick lips, and all of her steles, and this matches several of the other busts that they found in Tutmosis' studio. So all of these can be found in the Neues Museum. If you go to the Neues Museum, you'll see loads and loads of different like busts and fragments of Nefertiti, and she looks like an African in all of them. The one bust that she has where she looks like a European, you know, you heard that guy in my documentary that I put up says she looks like an Edwardian in Egyptian dress. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but the fact is, the one bust that they've got where she looks like a European, this man obsessing over. He's not concerned about all of the other busts of Nefertiti, the other fragments of Nefertiti, all of the busts of Akhenaten. They've got the 2 plaster cast busts in the Neues Museum, which is literally the literal plaster cast face of Nefertiti and the literal plaster cast face of Akhenaten. Beautiful busts, and he's not interested in that. Yeah, all he seems to be interested in is the bust of Nefertiti, the European one. Isn't that ironic? Isn't that ironic?
For it to come back. And now when the 2 petitions reach 1 million, I will start the fight.
When it comes to people who have like alternative views about the pyramids, right? There's lots of people obsessed with them, and they have strong opinions and strong views, and some of them don't like you and think you're a gatekeeper, hiding everything away from them and so on. What do you feel about them collectively?
You know, I won't tell you. I used to get upset in the past, but now I really laugh. Why? Because I tell everyone, if you bring one evidence of anything you say, we can talk. But you don't tell me any evidence. You just say speculation. You say things, but in the...
So here's the issue with this. I get the argument he's making, okay? He has his critics, and he's like, bring me evidence and we can talk. The issue that you have with a lot of your critics, even the ones who are in the conspiracy field, is that you gatekeep a lot. And a lot of the things that they ask you to do, you just say, no. That's what you're like. They're like, can we like dig down or do this? And you're like, no. you You don't do the thing to disprove them. Now, I'm not going to say too much in that regard because some of them make really outrageous things that they think are simple. It's like, just dig down next to the pyramids. That's all. It's like, why am I going to start digging up, you know, the precious soils of our ancestors because you little American, you have a hunch that you got itch that you need to scratch. Like, piss off, who do you think you are? So I kind of get where he's coming from, because I'd be like that in that position. Be like, I ain't digging for nothing. Yeah. So you guys can scream conspiracy all you want. You can go to hell. That I would have Hawass's energy there. But then it puts you in a catch-22. You know what I mean? When it comes to these, because you're so inflexible, that's where the question marks kind of like, and why people critique him in that regard. But I kind of get his dismissing of for a lot of these guys who are going to come on the channel later. I'd dismiss them as well if I was in this position, to be totally honest with you. That's the truth.
On the other hand, I can tell you the evidence that they have, and this is why.
Look, before I bring some of them in, are there big secrets that you know about the Egyptian pyramids that for whatever reason you haven't shared with the world?
Never.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Okay, so I'm gonna just put just because it's linked to the super chat you made earlier, I'm just gonna put RJ's comment on the screen because he answered my question I asked about his super chat. So here's the answer response. He says Santiera and Candomblé is a syncretic Afro-Cuban faith and Afro-Brazilian rooted in Yoruba beliefs. Yeah, and I think there's an accompanying language that's spoken as well, which they say obviously, and they relate a lot of this to slave trade. And I'm not going to get into an argument there, but I think that some of these might predate transatlantic or the Maafa. I think a lot of these might predate it. This is the hidden contact, the hidden and continuous contact between Africa and the Americas, which I do believe in, by the way, to be very clear. I believe there was continuous contact. I don't believe Europeans discovered anything in terms of transatlantic travel. I think they just basically appropriated it like they appropriate everything else and then claimed it for themselves and then acted like they're the discoverers, like this, believing that they discovered anything with their late kind of like with their late access to civilization would be foolish on my part. So no, I don't believe that's the case. I believe that there's definite contact that predates pre-Columbian contact and ongoing and continuous. And that's part of history that I will be a part of rebuilding. But I appreciate that feedback, and I will look into those in more detail now that you've mentioned them, RJ Mackenzie. So I appreciate that. Let's carry on.
So you've revealed everything you know.
Last night, I talked about everything I found inside the Great Pyramid in front of 1,000 English people. How can you hide anything?
There's nothing you're keeping back.
No, nothing. And it will never happen. Anything that we discover, we announce it.
Donald Trump has said that you can't reveal all the files about UFOs and aliens because the world isn't ready to hear them.
But aliens can build something else, but not the pyramids.
Probably true. Okay, well, look, as mentioned, the world of archaeology is one that invites a lot of people who have alternative theories about the ancient.
And I think in some ways, Zahi Hawass has to take ownership for the pyramid, for the alien conspiracies because of his frankly unsatisfactory explanations of the pyramid's existence. He's always so unsatisfactory. You know, he still persists with the kind of like man-made with rudimentary manual tools. He's not even trying to explore higher versions of manual technology to explain. Is still kind of like, oh, they were hand chiseled flat to perfect. Like, come on, man, give the mainstream narrative something to chew on here. Do you know what I mean? Give us something to actually believe that this is how they were constructed. Because right now, what you're offering people is no one's gonna go for it unless you're just one of these kind of like dedicated Eurocentrists who don't believe anything wrong can come out of academia, which does describe a lot of people who are in Egyptology. They don't challenge anything. They're very much kind of like by the book, and nothing else matters.
For those who hold these views, Dr. Zahi is a controversial figure. So we've invited 3 of them to join us so they can debate some hot topics in this world of Egyptology. Michael Button is a YouTuber specializing in ancient mysteries. Jimmy Corsetti is an investigative researcher and host of Bright Insight. And Timothy Alberino is an author and explorer known as the Rogue Archaeologist. So a great lineup here of all.
Who are these dudes, man? Where's the King's monologue on this panel, man? Come on, man. Give me a seat next time, Piers. I know I dish you every time. I know I give you no respect. You're not gonna get no respect from me, but that's what you need. You need someone who's gonna challenge you. People say there's no black folks, and there's not even any melanin on the panel, man. You know what I mean? They could have at least brought a little bit of a tan, man. A friggin' Southern European or something. You know what I mean? They could have thrown a little Sicilian up in the mix, man. Do you know what I mean? Damn.
Alternative Egyptologists, I guess, is how I would describe you all. So let me start, if I may, with you, Michael Button. I've got the great man here. What do you want to ask him?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me on, Piers, and Zahi, it's a pleasure to meet you and to make your acquaintance. Look, Zahi, you just said that no one has come with any evidence whatsoever that can possibly say there's anything new to be found at the Giza Plateau or beneath the pyramids. But the simple fact is that in the last few years, the only major news stories that have come from the Giza Plateau and the pyramids is firstly the story of the vast subterranean city beneath the Giza Plateau, and secondly the recent story regarding the second Sphinx. Now, look, nobody here is saying, I don't think anyone on this panel would say that we have absolute proof of a vast subterranean city or of a second Sphinx. But this idea that people can come with legitimate scientific data and bring it to the table, like the scientists who brought this data are credentialed scientists. They have been cited in scientific journals, and their technology has worked in other archaeological sites across the world. So the idea that actual scientists can come with actual data and bring it to the authorities and just be immediately dismissed without any kind of discussion, I think is quite weird. Because, look, I mean, I actually have a quote from you, Zahi, that you said on the day after the team came with the SAR topography results beneath the pyramids. And you said the claim of using radar inside the pyramid is false. And
so we covered this on the channel. We're obviously talking about the team, I think the Italian team who did the scans, and they claimed to find, you know, these subterranean columns going down hundreds of meters, very striking and almost unbelievable to look at, but yeah, it's just it left a huge question mark. But yeah, so that's what he's talking about here, and Zahi Hawass dismissing it. So we're kind of back on that subject again. I think that's where we left off the last time we had a debate with Zahi Hawass. So let's hear what's said.
And the techniques employed are neither scientifically approved nor validated. But this was literally the day after the results had come out, and I don't see any way that you could have gone through the data and spoke to the team or conducted any independent investigation to come to that conclusion. And if you just look all across the world right now, modern technology is revolutionizing archaeology. Just look at the Amazon rainforest, where LiDAR has discovered vast cities hidden beneath the canopy, vast geometric earthworks that nobody knew existed until just a few years ago. That was always the classic lost civilization hypothesis.
Let me give him a chance to respond. And just for viewers who may not have understood, just one second, Zai, because I just want to point out that in relation to the Sphinx comment you made, that last month Italian researchers claimed they might have found signs of a Sphinx located beneath the pyramids of Giza, suggesting the existence of a sprawling subterranean citadel. The radar engineer Filippo Blondi said there is something very huge that we're measuring.
Oh wow, so I didn't hear about that. That sounds like another discovery. So we had the columns now, they're saying they found a second Sphinx beneath the pyramids, and that's the same Italian researcher using the same I think it was like tomography or something like that, satellite tomography. I can't remember exactly what the name of it is. It's been a few good few months since I last looked at it, but yeah, it sounds like another alleged discovery. So let's hear if Hawass has heard from him.
Beneath the Giza Plateau. On his own podcast, Michael Button, you said if this is true, it could change everything we know about ancient Egypt. So, Dr. Zahi, your response to that story, and also to the wider point that Michael makes, which is all this stuff's being discovered all the time. How are you so certain that this isn't lurking beneath the pyramids?
Yes. Now there are 3 points I would like to discuss. Number one, about the discovery that was claimed by the 2 Italians underneath the second pyramid of Khafre. They said 60 meters underneath the second pyramid, there is 8 pillars. And 1,000 meters, there is a whole city. Now, those scientists, before they should announce this, they should come to discuss it with us, to sit with Egyptologists and discuss it. If it's true, we'll announce it. We
see this is where the gatekeeper questions start, because if he didn't require your permission to scan, first of all, if he asked for your permission to scan, you would have said no. And if he didn't require your permission to scan, why does he need to go through you to announce it? And this is Zahi Hawass's narcissism kicking in again here, because he likes to be the person who announces everything about the pyramid. I am the pyramid man. All the pyramid stuff goes through me. That's all it is. He wants to. So these guys could be talking absolute nonsense, could be totally bunk what they're proclaiming. We don't know, by the way. So anyone who's saying with certainty that they're talking nonsense, or so, we just don't know at this stage. It's too early to declare it being kind of like true or false. So it's too much. It's too early to declare in either direction. Bottom line is, why does it need to go through Zahi Hawass? Why? For what purpose? What does anyone owe him? You know, you're just some random Egyptian guy who finds himself in charge of stuff that you have no part in building. Like, what do you, I don't understand this, you know?
Yeah, cannot deny anything like this. But what I said, they published that they used tomographic radar. And
that's all academia requires, is that you publish in a journal. You can ignore it. It doesn't require your gatekeeping. And that's the thing. He's a doctor who doesn't appreciate the academic process, because everything he does is go straight into a book, becomes proprietary. He doesn't actually, the whole premise, or at least what's advertised to us, is that, the whole academic world exists within this cycle of people continually contributing to a certain field, so the knowledge pool grows. And that's their whole idea of publishing your work in journals and stuff, making it available to the entire academic community so that pool of knowledge can increase. And obviously I'm very skeptical, because most of it's Eurocentric, but at the same time, he's a part of that world. But yeah, he wants to have his own books. He wants to do, he likes to take the apple route.
tomographic radar can show only 15 meters under the ground, only. The second thing about the Sphinx, this theory is published recently, but it is published 20 years ago again. And they sit south of the arrested Sphinx, there is another one. And this area, I want you to come, I will take you. This has been excavated completely to the solid rock. There is no one single place in this area can accommodate a second Sphinx. And now the question is, why do we have a second Sphinx? There is no reason to do that. The third point.
I mean, that's a stupid answer. So he said, first of all, there's no room for a second Sphinx, but he said we've excavated to the solid rock. But I think the point was that it's sitting beneath. But that wasn't the stupid answer. The stupid answer was there's no reason for a second Sphinx. What's the reason for the first Sphinx? You don't even know that. What are you talking about? You don't even know what the reason for the first Sphinx is. You have no idea what its purpose is. It's there, yes, and you appreciate it. Horimak head, which means head or head on the horizon. The word hor, I believe, or heru, as we say, is similar to the Yoruba word ori, which means head, but in Yoruba it also has a double entendre where it can mean head, but it can also mean ruler. Okay, which is where we get the word orishas from. So head, the word ori in Yoruba can mean, it's the same word in ancient Kemet, hor. It's the same, the initials are H, or the words, yeah, the letters are HR for that word hor. It also happens to be the initials for Horus, the god, but it's the same initials. So you have Hora, you have Horu, Ori, Uru, Hara in certain East African languages. It's the same thing as head, and it's a double entendre. It can mean head on your head, but it can also mean head as in ruler, and that's probably likely where the Europeans get that trend of using the same word for both things. So that's the name of Horem Akhet. It's head on the horizon. Hor em Akhet, horizon is Akhet. M is on the, so it's head on the horizon. But Egyptology will tell you it's Horus on the horizon, and they don't understand the double entendre.
For you, we welcome anyone who comes from a university or a museum, a scientist. Someone should be connected with a scientific institution. Welcome to come and do any research. We have the permanent committee that permit people to work, but you have to be connected with an institution.
Okay, Michael, just for the record, have you been to the pyramids?
I have not been to the pyramids, and I'm hoping to. And I just want to state that I do not necessarily agree with the findings of these scientists. My broader point is that the data that they presented was just immediately rejected without any kind of proper investigation, without any kind of digging into the Giza Plateau. Like, why have we not just dug down, and then we could settle this argument once and for all? Because it seems that we're all here discussing this, and I haven't even been to Egypt, and we could just settle this straight away by digging into the Giza Plateau and confirming.
Yeah, see that there, that's that respectfully, that's that white privilege right there. You know what I mean? Why don't we just settle this? Like, you do, respectfully. Like, you just own a YouTube channel, man. Like, you're trying to go to the you're trying to go to the Egypt. Listen, Egypt, I think you should dig down and prove to me that my theory about a Sphinx being underneath here is not here, because I said so. You're Egyptian, I'm English, you know. This is like, dude, who do you think you are? Respectfully, this is why I'm kind of on the side of dismissing. Like, shut up. Like, I ain't digging nothing. Yeah, I ain't digging nothing. Who the hell are you? Like, what kind of? And this is the thing. They all of them make that argument. Like, Jimmy, respectfully, you're no one. All three, like, you are nobodies. Yeah, you have to have some kind of, and this is why you probably do need to go through an institution. Even me, as a black person, African, who feels an affinity towards, you know, all African civilizations, you know, you start digging, Hawass, you know, because we told you to. It's like, for who? What are you talking about?
What's the response?
This is true.
Why can't we just dig down and find out?
I know, you know, it's the solid rock. The second pyramid, the base is 10 meters of solid rock. How can you look what's underneath a solid rock?
But you, in relation earlier to this, you know, this hidden corridor and sealed door and stuff, you said there's now technology that means you don't need to drill. So is there not technology?
But you cannot go through 10 meters.
You can't?
No, you can't. But tell me, if any scientist can look underneath, welcome.
So you have no problem with people
at all. I have no problem at all on that.
Okay.
Giza Plateau is open to any scientist who really can do any investigation.
Okay, let me bring in Jimmy Corsetti. Welcome to you, Jimmy. You're an investigative researcher. After our last conversation with Zahi, there were lots of comments that kind of flooded in here. Mosh Jelton said there are gatekeepers at the top of every industry that will keep anybody they can below them under any circumstance. Ali El Saeed says, an Egyptian, I reject Zahi as a spokesperson of our history. The pyramids construction remains a mystery. Doug Lynch, I love how traditional Egyptian scientists are firmly convinced the Egyptians built the pyramids, and yet not a single one can tell us how they did it. And Kay Maram said, after years of research and excavation, Zahi Hawass.
See, I think that's a legitimate critique there, because even the, you know, the co-vaders, you know, they don't like Zahi Hawass's oversimplification in terms of the explanation of the pyramids. Like, there's no explanation that comes with anything that he says. Doesn't actually explain anything. He just declares there to be no mystery. There's no mystery. We know how it's built. We have the curtain. I found the workers. I found Diddy, one of the construction workers. This is his name. I found him. Okay, great. You found a dude called Diddy, yeah, who was buried, you know, somewhere near the Giza Plateau, okay, and who used to be in construction. That doesn't suddenly solve the entire pyramid mystery. It doesn't solve anything. It's just he just likes to like roll on, you know what I mean? And by the way, Diddy, I've said before, that's an Igbo name, okay? And I'm not making these like random links. A lot of Kemetic names, okay, will correspond with the African continent. In fact, all of them. Pretty much every Kemetic name, you'll be able to find it somewhere on the African continent, okay? So it's like it sounds like weird random names to people. It's kind of like, well, no, there'll always be someone who goes, oh yeah, I've got that name. You know what I mean? Thomas Sankara, you know, very common name in Kemet. Yeah, loads and loads of names are just like they're there. They exist in Kemet. They're common names. So this is the thing. That's not a coincidence. When people have these names, the way they're constructed, it's not a coincidence. The Kemet was an African civilization, and it's reflected. Different dynasties are reflected in different parts of the African continent.
Discovered the pyramids were built in his honor, which made me chuckle. But what you've got the great man sitting here. I think he is a great man. Certainly one of, as his own admission, one of the two great experts of this in the world. I have to say that having finally come face to face with this monster, as some people in the alternative world view him, I see a guy who's not only incredibly expert in the pyramids, has written a 1,000-page book about it, was modest enough to say that
Piers is trying to angle for his Robbie Williams visit here. Like, oh my god, I might be able to angle this trip with Robbie to Egypt. That'll be his ultimate. That'll be his Piers call points done. He will officially be out of the box of cringe, slimy journalist, and he finally would have fulfilled himself as being someone who's relatively cool.
there's another guy out there, an American, who is as expert as he is, but also is so palpably excited by the idea of new discovery and detail what that could be.
I'm just going to put this comment on the screen really quickly because I just, for some reason, it's just kind of like shouting out to me. Joy Fra, thank you very much for your for this contribution, because it is something that I agree with. It says he and the modern Egyptians don't really know the true history of the ancients. And I would even go beyond saying they don't know it. I would say they don't want to know it. They don't want to know it. Okay. What they want is to claim it, but they don't actually want to know what it truly was, because to know ancient Kemet, to know that civilization, to know that culture is to know that it's not dead. It's very living culture. They don't want the reality of the ancient Kemetic civilization. Yeah, they don't want to have to acknowledge the fact that the hairstyles in ancient Kemet are all still practiced on the African continent. They don't want to know that, you know, Ahmose the First has his hair in, you know, corkscrew ringlets, which they still do among the Afar people. They don't want to know that these statuettes of the Egyptian infantry, okay, share my complexion and have a dress code, that hairstyle that's practiced amongst the Oromo, and a dress code that's practiced amongst the Zulu. they don't want to know any of that. They don't want to know all of the cultural continuities that you see. Every single tradition that you see in ancient Kemet, you can find its analogy. You'll be able to find something analogous on the African continent. So they're not interested in what ancient Kemet truly was. They prefer to do the cosplay thing, chuck on the silly the silly solid hats and the stupid. They like the cosplay. We want to cosplay and pretend and do this, do all this. Yeah, that's what they want. They don't want the true culture of Kemet, even as far as the language. They don't want to know how it was truly spoken. They prefer to have this kind of like Semitic line. And when I say Semitic, I mean modern, not ancient Semitic. This kind of like Semitic adjacent civilization, which they try and relate to. It's funny, when I was in the gem in the Grand Egyptian Museum, they played this video, and the video was supposed to display what ancient Kemet looked like, and it just looked like a scene out of Aladdin. It was so pathetic. And then you had all of these, you know, you had the men walking around, and instead of walking around in the proper like the proper kind of like ancient Egyptian kilts, the white kilts and the bare foot, they had it all wrapped around like a nomad, like a kind of like what they call it? I want to say nomadic. Yeah, I could say nomadic, I guess. Kind of like a Bedouin nomadic. You know how they wrap it around like a nappy and then tuck it in. It just looks so ridiculous. I'm like, that's not freaking Kemet. That's just you guys being weirdos. Like, what are you talking about? That's not ancient Kemet. Like, look at these, look at the walls. None of that culture that you see practiced is dead. It's all still alive. Every single part of it. Yeah, the diaper. So Superfin said, yeah, wrapped around like a diaper. Like, it looked ridiculous. It's like, no, that's not ancient Egyptian culture. But they're not interested in ancient Egyptian culture. What they're interested in is saying that ancient Egyptian culture looked like an episode of Aladdin, you know, so that they can appease their Arab acquaintances and their Arab relatives. You know, they're not interested in what the true culture was. They'll prefer to destroy, like I said, they will prefer to destroy. I always give the analogy, which you guys have probably heard 100 times, and I'll say it again, but the analogy of the Bible, where they'll prefer to cut the baby in half, yeah, than to preserve the baby and give it to its rightful owner. They want to say, no, we are the true, and it doesn't matter if they have to destroy the culture to say that they're the true Egyptians. They prefer to destroy the culture, as they're doing with the Gem Museum and other things. They prefer to destroy it, hack it to pieces to say that they are the true Egyptians, than to actually give the culture to who it truly belongs to in order to preserve and save it. They'll prefer to flood the culture so that no one gets to see it and they get to live with the legacy, than to let the culture live so that everybody can see who it's most closely related to. That's how they operate. And that's just that's beyond refutation. If you feel like you can refute it, feel free to. I'm all ears.
You know, this new tomb that could be uncovered, that isn't the kind of reaction, if I'm honest, Jimmy, as somebody that I get the feeling is trying to hide things. So why is the alternative community so fixated on the fact that this guy is some kind of controlling gatekeeper monster who doesn't want anyone to know anything?
Well, let me first say, Piers, nice to see you again. Thank you for having me on. And actually, we had all done a podcast or an interview together last July where I got to meet Zahi and chat with him here. And nice to see you again, Zahi. And I want to apologize to you. I interrupted you a few times last July. I meant no disrespect to you. And I certainly do not think that you're a monster, Zahi, whatsoever.
Jimmy was mad rude last time. I remember watching it. That's the one thing. That was my one takeaway. I was like, man, this guy is rude. I mean, I've got my issues with Zahi. You know what I mean? I mean, he was like, he down there called my people the N-word, man. Like, they what Nicholas? You know what I mean? I know, just, but even I would have been more polite than this dude was. This dude had no chill. Yeah, it's true. Like, the way you just call him Zahi, like it's his brethren. It's like, respectfully, that's Dr. Hawass to you, bro. Yeah, that's Dr. Hawass to you. These guys always showing their white privilege. It's hilarious. I swear they can't help it, man.
In fact, I think that you're a good man. And I think that most of this spreads from, and myself as a conspiracy theorist, but I consider myself more level-headed. Like, for example, I do not think that the pyramids were built by aliens. I think do
you believe they were built by humans, just for the record?
Yes, I do. I think that humans, if we were to get a time machine and go back and snatch some people up from, say, the 18th century and bring them today and fly them over New York City or London, they might think they're on a different planet. I think that what human beings are capable of is, you know, the sky's the limit. There's anything that we can conceive of, we can do. So no, I do believe it was human.
I agree with everything he's saying here, by the way. I think that's true. I think the undermining of ancient people and the tendency to, we have to understand a lot of the tendency to present our modern man as the apex of human ingenuity is Eurocentric arrogance. This is something that needed to be done and needs to be reinforced in order for the world to believe that there is no alternative. There's no world that will exist without European rule. This is one of the key tenets of the education system, is to make us believe that we are currently in the age of enlightenment. We have to believe that this is the most enlightened that mankind has ever been. We are so intelligent now, and that blinds your eyes to the barbarity of recent history. We probably live in one of the most barbarous times in history. Literally one of them, like, these people are backwards. We are destroying the planet at a faster rate than it's ever been destroyed. Everything about the trajectory of mankind is in decline. We are in a period of rapid entropy, and yet they'll make you think that we are in the period of like highest and like we're so intelligent now. It's not true. It's not true. We're just coming out. We're literally, I'm hoping, about to come out of a dark age, like a long period of dark ages, which has been European rule. Yeah, this is a long period of dark ages that we've been trapped in, and hopefully we're going to be coming out of it soon. So I agree with Jimmy. Like, what did it look like before this long period of Neanderthal barbarity that we've fallen into? That's that's the question, you know.
However, I think that they were far more advanced than what we were taught in school. The ascribed techniques for how the pyramids were allegedly constructed have been tested and debunked. I do not believe they were constructed with copper chisels and stone hammers. There's other mysteries.
I agree with that.
For example, how they transported 1,000 metric ton statues hundreds of miles. But to answer your question, I think it comes from transparency. There have been examples where the public has felt that things weren't done on the up and up. For example, exploring cavities below the Sphinx. Back in 2009, Zahi Hawass and Dr. Lehner had drilled down to explore the water table under the Sphinx's left paw. And he said there was nothing down there. However, photos were never released to the public. I also want to point out that when we had
Zahi Hawass about to say, in my book.
our conversation last July of 2025, Zahi, you had mentioned that the Great Pyramid Void would be explored by the end of the year. And then that came and went and still hasn't happened. Now you're saying that they're going to explore it in June. So just to clarify, will they be drilling inside? I understand you had mentioned techniques to explore without drilling. Will we be going in some capacity?
Now, first I have to answer the first question that you asked about what we found in front of the Sphinx that's not available to the public. This is not true. We found 4 tunnels under the Sphinx, and it's published in an article, scientific article, secret tunnels under the Sphinx, number 1. Number 2, when I found out the rise of the water table, I brought a team from Cairo University, and we drilled 32 drilling underneath the Sphinx, and we found nothing. The Sphinx is a solid rock. All what I'm telling you now, published in our book to the public. You can buy this book, published by Timson Hudson, and read about what we found underneath the Sphinx. I want you to know, archaeology is not really something that you have to go tomorrow and open this. You have to study. I'm working now with a team from...
So he said the book thing, obviously. But he has answered some of the questions slash accusations that have been forwarded in regards to what's underneath the Sphinx. Like I said, I've got no I'm not really backing any horse in this race in particular. I find it a lot less interesting than most people, if I'm going to be totally honest with you. I really do. Yeah, well, let's carry on.
England. And we have also a team from France and team from Japan. All of us are really trying to reveal the secret of the Great Pyramid and to announce anything that we found. The team that working with me, until now, they cannot find a way of how can we found what could be inside the 30 meters void, or the other void in the second chamber, or the corridor. Now they're coming in June. We'll try again. Then we will always try with the new techniques that we have now, like ultrasound, infrared, muons. All these new techniques can really reveal all these voids.
And Jimmy, have you been to the pyramids?
Yes, I've been 3 times.
And when you get there, I mean, do you feel the same frustration that you feel like you're not being told the truth about stuff? Or do you accept that the monumental scale of these pyramids is such that it's a very complex thing?
Well, I will say that there are a lot of locked gates in Giza. There's most of Giza you're not even allowed to explore. I will say, though, that as far as, taking time to analyze a potential discovery, this void within the Great Pyramid was identified in late 2016, and the results were formally published in a journal in 2017. So we're talking 10 years ago now, and we still haven't gone inside.
And you have a particular issue, I think, with the tomb of the Osiris mummy. So for those who are not familiar,
Osiris, tomb of Osiris.
Osiris mummy.
Yes.
So explain what that is and what your issue with it is.
Okay, so Zahi, back in, I believe it was 1999, you did a Fox special where you had went down into the Osiris shaft. And at that time, you were in the process of excavating the tomb that's on the 3rd level down. And you said that you believed at that time that it was the tomb of the Egyptian god Osiris. And then nothing was...
Now, the Osiris shaft stuff actually is really interesting. And Jimmy Corsetti, as like people said, did do a recent release on his channel. Which is interesting because I didn't really know that much about the Osiris shaft, and it is a phenomenal piece of engineering once again that goes deep underground and has this, this underground coffin surrounded by a moat. Like it's a bit wild, I'm not gonna lie. It's like, whoa. When you think you can't be surprised anymore. And it reminds me, it does remind me that Egypt still has, or Kemet, I should say, still has these really grand secrets that they don't speak about. Like for me, the big one was the Serapeum, which I did the documentary on. That was like, why have I not heard of this? This is crazy. Like this is crazy. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, crazy tech. And then we got the Osiris shaft, which is just like crazy technology. Like what the heck? This is madness. This is, like I said, this is engineering feats done. Like how they got this big, gigantic stone coffin, similar to what they say it's coffin, similar to what you get in the Serapeum, but then it's like underground, but it's down like this long, narrow shaft that drops like, I can't remember, 60 meters or something. Like it's ridiculous. I was like, what the heck is this? This is mad. How did they get this down here? Like what kind of mad tech? And this is, so the question marks are, so in some ways, like people like, I have to say, people like Jimmy are good in this regard, because some of these things I wouldn't question if you didn't have some of these kind of like conspiracy journalists out there shining a light on it. So I think everyone has their use, definitely. So that was, I went into that, I wouldn't say expecting to be skeptical, but not expecting to be surprised. And I was kind of like, okay. Oh, they got a little song going on here, had to keep it definitely open, made my eyes open a bit wider. Like, why doesn't anyone talk about these things, these kind of like this Osiris shaft? So it made me want to know more, definitely.
Was ever released to the public again after that. I never received any type of information regarding who the mummy was, what the mummy was. That was it. So I guess my question for Zahi, I'd very much like to know is, what did you find inside that sarcophagus?
Okay.
And
When
what would you ever get a chance to
when I
see?
opened the sarcophagus, it was completely empty because Osiris is a myth. He
So this is where Zahi Hawass, well, we have to say lied at this point, but I'm sure he'll come up with an excuse. But he contradicts something he said before, because Jimmy Corsetti, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen his video, does actually reveal that Zahi Hawass said that they found a skeleton. Okay, so he said it quite explicitly in one of his papers. So this is a bit of a contradiction, you know.
He's the one who controlled the underground tunnels at Giza, because Giza, this is, and this why there is no mummy that we found, and all of this we published that this is the tomb of symbolic burial of the tomb of Osiris.
And by the way, I should have pointed that out as well. So shout out to you, Kwafada. I think it's because I'm getting tired and the stream's been going off quite long. Osiris is not a myth, okay? Osiris is an ancestor, to be clear. He's a myth to, you know, to Zahi Hawass and his ilk, but he's an ancestor to the Africans. Like many of the, you know, if you read the works of Manetho, you know, and I do mention every now and then, you know, the euhemericism that ancient Egypt was structured on, in terms of all of the deities in the pantheon having expression as people and or demigods that walk the earth at some point, and Osiris being one of them. So he was an ancestor. He was said to have, you know, ruled at a certain time. So it's important to understand that there's a difference between myth or legends and actual ancestors. And the Egyptians continued this trait of pharaohs and great people passing into the pantheon and taking on attributes that were then venerated, for want of a better word, but followed for certain principles of understanding. So yeah, I agree, he's not a myth. So thank you for pointing that out. Osiris. So Kwafada, thank you.
Control the underground tunnels at Giza Plateau, but there is no mummy. This is the first time I hear about a mummy found in this sarcophagus. But if you want to know about what we found in details, I published an article in a book dedicated to David O'Connor from University of Pennsylvania, and it's written in our big book on Giza.
Okay, let me bring in our.
You find it odd that sarcophagus was empty? I mean, and I also, you know, I want to circle back.
Why would he lie? What would be the motivation for covering anything up?
Maybe that they're, you know, you could say that what they found in there wasn't what they expected it to be.
What do you think it is? Well, what could it be thousands of years later? I mean, what?
No.
Why? Here's a question. Here's a.
And this wouldn't be the first time that they've planted stuff, or I say planted or misreported things, such as the same thing in the Serapeum. They kind of like, I think they planted some the bones of bulls in some of those coffins. All of those coffins aren't coffins in the Serapeum. Okay, they were all empty when they were found, but then they made some alleged, I'm not sure if it was just Mariette or someone else, and they said, oh yeah, we found some, because they needed to run with the story that this was a burial kind of like complex for the cult of the Apis bulls, and when the Apis bulls died, they were buried. And it's kind of like, they didn't find them. There's only like one. There's always one that's cracked open, and then they find like a leg. Oh, we found the leg of the bull, so therefore these are all coffins for Apis bulls. Like, no, they're not. They're clearly not coffins for bulls. And it's the same thing here. You know what I mean? Where, you know, there's just, you know, something going on in terms of what's being reported and what these things are. You know.
Important question for everyone to consider. The ancient Egyptians dug out the Osiris shaft, which extends approximately 100 feet under the ground. They had this sophisticated tomb with 4 large obelisks or pillars surrounding it with a moat. You should look at pictures of this. It's fascinating. And all of that with this, 50, 60 ton sarcophagus. The lid itself, I believe, was 10 or 15 tons. all for nothing, all for a complete empty burial. It's just like
but Jimmy, I come back to the central question: what is in it for Zahi to lie or to cover this up? Why would he?
And like I said before, that is a very, I wouldn't say naive, but a very Eurocentric question to ask. Because once again, you have to approach the study from a place of that it's entirely innocuous and entirely above board and entirely benevolent as a practice to ask that question. Well, what could be the motive for him to lie? It's kind of like when you're, from our perspective, it's like these dudes do nothing but lie. All they do is lie. They don't tell anything as it is. They lie about everything. They lie physically, they lie culturally, they lie with literature, they lie anthropologically, they lie genetically, they lie wherever there is an opportunity to lie. So, you know, that's just the way it is, you know.
There's no one alive who's going to contradict anything that it comes out. It's like, this would just be a matter of historical artifact fact. I mean, the idea that they would find something incredible and then just not tell us, I just think it doesn't make any sense.
Unless it upended, I agree with you, and I'm not accusing Zahi of lying about this. I believe him that the sarcophagus was found empty. I don't think that he's lying about that. I'd say the only motivation that I could think of, or the main motivation, I should say, would be that it upends the narrative of Egyptian history, that potentially what they found in it dates back far older. Now, with that being said...
But again, why...
Yeah, so that would be a plausible reason to lie, amongst many others. And, you know, Piers is there saying, well, why would they lie? But it's like, well, yeah, Zahi Hawass is clearly, I wouldn't say so much on the payroll as he is in the pockets of European, you know, the European narrative. Everything he's pushing seems to just sit really nicely and really comfortably with the Egyptological orthodoxy. He seems to be just totally in bed with them. And so would he hide discoveries that pushed the date of ancient Egypt out and made it the oldest civilization by a long shot in the world? Yes, he would. I 100% believe he would. If he was told, he absolutely would. Because once again, he doesn't care, because it's not really his civilization. He knows that. It's not his ancestors. He knows that. He's a grifter. He's grifted.
Why would Zahi, if that was true, why would he not view it with the same incredible excitement and enthusiasm he's been talking about potentially discovering the tomb of Khufu, for example? I mean, I don't detect from him a need to suppress stuff. I detect the opposite. And yet you guys are all out there going, he knows stuff he's not being clean with us. And I'm not really sure where you get this from or what his motivation would be.
I could give you an example. So if you were to go to my X or Instagram account, I uploaded a video I had made 4 years ago where Zahi Hawass had explored the alleged tunnels and chambers under the Sphinx and claiming that there's nothing there. However, he never mentioned that there was nothing inside of the Sphinx. And thankfully for a couple intrepid fellows that broke the rules in Egypt and climbed under this area under the Sphinx themselves, and they climbed up in it, and you can see this boarded off cavity, this tunnel, that was not described at all in Zahi's findings. You can't find any pictures of this boarded up shaft as well, but it does exist.
It's in the book.
Zahi?
It is not true. If you go to the book, you'll find a photograph of all the 4 tunnels that we found inside the Sphinx. And we discovered inside these tunnels pottery in situ. Date these tunnels to 500 BC. As we think today, there is something hidden underneath the Sphinx. The Egyptian in the late period thought the same, and they dug and they found nothing. And all this, go to my book and look at these tunnels. The article is called The Tunnels Under the Sphinx. I explained in details all the dimensions of each tunnel and what we found inside. Then we are not really hiding anything. It's you, because maybe you do not have access to Egyptology library. But go to the British Museum and look for Zahi Hawass publication on the Sphinx, and you will read what we
I
found.
suspect you'll sell a few copies
So,
after this.
there's something important to say
Well,
here.
hang on one second, Jimmy. I want to bring in
Okay.
our last guest, who's been very patient.
He's relentless with the books. Guys, it's getting late and I'm really tired. I don't think I can do any more. I'm nearly hit 3 hours. Hit the likes up before you go. I'd like to thank you very much for tuning in. There's not that much left to this video. You can feel free to continue watching, and our last guy, Timothy Alberino, kind of starts to chime in. But yeah, I think I've reached my limit for the day. Let me give a quick shout out to RJ McKenzie, Kwafadas, Yak Media, Afra Kem DT, CD 5516, and Stephen Carter. I appreciate you all very much. Thank you very much for your generous donations. I hope you've enjoyed the live stream. Yeah, just wanted to kind of like cover this video. I've got another live stream that I'm actually gonna do relatively soon as well. Possibly I can't do it tomorrow. It might possibly be Thursday now, actually, depending on how busy my days are. But I'm gonna do another live stream on, and let me give you the subject. I'm trying to remember what it was. That's why I'm looking. Yes, I'm going to do a live stream on a new video by David Reich, the geneticist, which I thought was quite interesting. So he's released a new series of videos, and I wanted to just like cover one of them because I feel like some of the messaging might go missed if we don't cover it. And I think it's important for us in terms of understanding, yeah, how genetics are being applied in modern analysis of ancient DNA and populations. So yeah, that will happen this week as well. Guys, make sure you catch all of the 3 parts to my latest documentary. Part 4 will be posting for premiere on Friday. And other than that, hit the likes up, and thank you again for joining me, and have a fantastic week, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Peace.